Chapter 26, An Incident. Chapter 26, An Incident. BZZ. A beautiful girl is giving me a treat. Hehe. After staying in the dormitory room for an hour plus, Wang Xian received a message from Guan Shuqing saying that she definitely had to give him a treat today. Wang Xian agreed to it. After the outdoor cooking the previous day, the relationship between the two of them was clearly no longer just about friendship. Wang Xian changed into a set of fine clothing. The pair of white casual shorts and black short-sleeve t-shirts cost $10,000 each. However, these weren't the most extravagant pieces. Wang Xian also took out the Nike shoes that cost $800,000. This pair of Nike shoes was the Nike MAG. Back to the Future 2, a limited release worldwide. He got these shoes from the young man riding the heavy-duty motorcycle, who had bought them overseas to show off to others. In the end, the shoes fell into Wang Xian's hands. Wang Xian had initially wanted to sell them. However, since he had the money currently, he no longer had to sell them and could wear them himself. This pair of shoes was not just filled with technology. Moreover, the design was great and extremely comfortable. It was also a great match for Wang Xian's clothes. After changing into the new clothes and being modified by dragon energy, Wang Xian had a unique aura around him. After parking his Harley at one side of the road, Wang Xian waited by the school gate. Guan Shuqing found a translation job and was about to knock off from work right now. She had asked him to wait for her at the school gate for a moment. Huh. At this moment, Wang Xian heard screams of shock. He turned his head over and his attention landed on a girl in front of him. The girl was wearing a white dress and carrying a LV bag. She had makeup on her face, had a great figure and could be considered very beautiful. As compared to before, her dressing was more fashionable. She was none other than the girl who Wang Xian was once fond of, Chi Chu. Chi Chu also noticed Wang Xian and looked at him with astonishment. As compared to the quiet and ordinarily dressed guy, in her opinion, the current Wang Xian was better dressed. Moreover, he was emitting a unique aura. He's just wearing some $10 new clothing. Chi Chu thought to herself reluctantly. What are you doing here? You don't have to work? Chi Chu adjusted her LV bag and beautiful dress while speaking plainly to Wang Xian. I'm waiting for someone. Wang Xian smiled at her and was clearly no longer interested in her. As compared to Guan Shuqing, Chi Chu was a far distance behind. Oh, what a coincidence. I'm also waiting for someone. Chi Chu glanced at Wang Xian and a smile appeared gradually on her face. I'm waiting for my boyfriend to come and fetch me. Seeing that Wang Xian wasn't replying to him, she got a little angered. Don't you have work today? Nope, I already have enough money to spend. Wang Xian smiled. Enough. When Chi Chu heard his words, her face was filled with belittling and deprecating vibes. Didn't you say that your sister would be attending the same school and you will let her lead a comfortable university life? Do you know how expensive this bag is? How expensive the makeup cosmetic products are? Just the bag in my hand will cost more than $10,000. As she spoke, she flicked her hair with a strong sense of superiority. When she was talking, 3 to 4 young men were also waiting for others at the same location. They took a glance at Chi Chu before looking at Wang Xian. As long as I have sufficient money to spend, it will be fine for me. As for the bag, as long as it can be used, I'm fine with it. After hearing the deprecating words of Chi Chu, Wang Xian just smiled faintly. Every girl would hope to be able to buy bags they like and makeup cosmetics. Chi Chu laughed. You aren't really a qualified brother. Hee. Wang Xian smiled and didn't bother to entertain the materialistic Chi Chu. Looking at a materialistic girl like her now, she looked more like a clown. When the group of young men heard what Chi Chu said, they were slightly shocked. A young man pointed at Wang Xian's shoes and mumbled to his companions. His other 2 companions looked over and were shocked. After which, they took a closer look at Wang Xian's clothes. That's a Harley heavy-duty motorcycle. It's a Harley. So cool. At this moment, the group of young men saw the Harley motorcycles behind Wang Xian. They couldn't help but reveal their fondness for the vehicle. It's too cool. This Harley probably costs at least a few $100,000. And nope. This Harley has been specially modified and should be a custom-made version. Custom-made Harley is even more expensive. Harley Electra Glide is sold at over $400,000 on the official website. A special custom version would definitely be more expensive. I've got a friend who had one custom made and it cost over $800,000. However, that is still a far cry from this. In that case, wouldn't this be over $1 million? The group of young men walked over in awe and were exclaiming as they looked. Chi Chu Chu heard what they said and turned her head over in astonishment. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Wang Xian noticed that there were a few people crowding around his ride. A smile appeared on his face. A heavy-duty motorcycle is cool but still couldn't be compared with a car, he said faintly. TSK, what do you know about these? Chi Chu Chu heard what he said and looked at him with disdain. You will never be able to afford a car like this. Wang Xian chuckled upon hearing what she said. The group of young men also looked over with surprise. My boyfriend is here. Where are you going? Do you need a ride? Chi Chu Chu saw a BMW 5 Series car driving towards her and spoke in a deprecating manner at Wang Xian. It's all right. Chu Chu. At this moment, the BMW stopped by the side. A young man that looked just slightly over 20 years old stepped out. He looked a little skinny and weak and his complexion was a little pale. What's more prominent was that he had a protruded mouth and an ape-like chin. To sum it up, he looked a little ugly. The young man walked over and opened his arms slightly for an embrace. Brother Qing. Chi Chu Chu walked over and hugged the young man directly. At the same time, she gave him a kiss. Who are you talking to? The young man wrapped his arms around Chi Chu Chu's waist and asked with a smile. Just a guy who tried to woo me in the past. TSK. Aiming for someone completely out of his league. Chi Chu Chu pouted slightly and giggled. Oh. That young man looked at Wang Xian and took out a cigarette. He looked at Wang Xian with disdain and said, Hey brother, do you have the capability to go after Chu Chu? Wang Xian saw the young man talking to him and was slightly shocked. A cold smirk appeared on his face. He looked at the BMW 5 Series before looking at his shoes. A faint mocking expression surfaced on his face. When the group of young men heard the conversation, they were shocked too. When they heard what the girl said previously, they were already a little surprised. Right now they were completely stunned. They looked at that BMW before looking at the shoes of Wang Xian. I recalled a scene suddenly. A young man saw his other two companions pointing to the BMW suddenly before pointing to Wang Xian's shoes. Can you remember the day I asked you out to play? I was wearing Nikes. When you appeared, you turned around and left with a guy with trendy clothes and driving a BMW 5 Series. What you might not know is that his car is worth $600,000 but my Nikes are worth $810,000. The voice of the young man was loud and clear and everyone could hear it. It was especially so as the young man was pointing his finger. Chapter 27 Night Out at Sea. Chapter 27 Night Out at Sea. Chi Chu Chu and the young man at her side were stunned by the juvenile. The juvenile pointed to the BMW car and the shoes on Wang Xian's feet. Nike MAG, Back to the Future too, the juvenile who spoke exclaimed again. Chi Chu Chu and the young man stared at that pair of Nike shoes that Wang Xian was wearing. The young man was wide-eyed as his eyes were full of disbelief. Chi Chu Chu was also dumbstruck as she could not believe her ears. Wang Xian looked at them impassively before he saw Guan Shuqing walking towards him. He immediately grinned and waved to her. Sorry to keep you waiting. Guan Shuqing scampered over and saw the zestful and good-looking Wang Xian. A faint smile surfaced on her face. It's okay. I just got here too. Wang Xian shook his head. Let's go, I'll treat you to dinner in the old street. Guan Shuqing beamed at Wang Xian as she spoke. Sure, anything would do, Wang Xian nodded. I'm riding a motorcycle. Wang Xian headed to the Harley motorcycle and unlocked it with a key. Wow, a Harley motorcycle. Looks like you're really rich. Guan Shuqing looked at him with astonishment. She thought Wang Xian might be making some money, but it was less expected that he would be rich enough to afford a Harley motorcycle. Someone gave it to me. Unfortunately, I don't have a car license yet, so I could only ride this motorcycle. Wang Xian grinned. Do you mind sitting behind? Hee, you are not using this motorcycle for wooing girls, right? Guan Shuqing looked at him and teased him. But she went on to sit at the back. Wang Xian chuckled and replied, I guess to woo girls with this is not as effective as a BMW. Hee, Guan Shuqing laughed. Let's go and have some meat skewers. Sure. Wang Xian nodded. He started the engine and rode towards the old street. Guan Shuqing stared at the back of the guy in front of her. With some hesitation, she held his waist. Cool, he is so freaking cool. That pair of shoes and the Harley motorcycle are about $2 million. He's loaded. I envy him. He's actually wearing a pair of shoes that is $800,000. Such a filthy rich man. The three juveniles looked at the Harley motorcycle that took off. Slowly they shifted their focus to Chi-Chu-Chu and the other young man. Flaunting your BMW? The price of your BMW is incomparable to that one pair of shoes. Just now the girl even told the young guy to stop dreaming about riding a Harley. That young man also told him that he did not have the capital. Now that was a slap in their faces. He had a pair of shoes that was worth $700,000 to $800,000 and a Harley motorcycle that could easily cost $1 million. You guys still mocked him and asked if he has the capital? At the same time, Chi-Chu-Chu put on a different expression as she watched in disbelief as the Harley motorcycle zoomed off. How could he be loaded? Chi-Chu-Chu did not want to believe it. He was just a poor lad. How did he boost his wealth all of a sudden? And that girl just now. Wasn't she the famous Belle Guan Shuqing? Was he hiding his identity of a son from a wealthy family? Regret. Deepest regret. The young man observed the peculiar gazes from the three of them at the side with a sullen face. He was infuriated when he looked at Chi-Chu-Chu with a face full of regret. Let's go to the hotel. A calm and peaceful encounter with Chi-Chu-Chu was over. Not the slightest tinge of yearning was left. Instead he detested her. After dinner he sent Guan Shuqing back to her dormitory. Wang Xian looked at the moon and the stars that were shining brightly in the sky. He made up his mind to head out for the sea. I want to improve my strength and make myself even more powerful. When he'd learned that his body could resist a bullet this afternoon, Wang Xian decided to upgrade his strength as soon as possible so that he could grow stronger. He did not ride his motorcycle. Instead, he took a cab outside of the school. When he arrived at the beach, it was already 9 p.m. Wang Xiang watched the glistening waves under the moonlight. He found a remote spot, took off his clothes and jumped into the sea. Transform into a dragon. With a thought in his mind, he dived into the sea. As a newborn dragon, he had no ability yet. To possess those superpowers like wind, rain, thunder, and lightning would require the exchange with the dragon energy. Dragon race needed to cultivate for superpowers in their physical body. In Divine Dragon Transformation, there were conversion techniques for various attributes. Dragon energy could convert to wind, rain, and even thunder and lightning. However, a mighty divine dragon would use dragon energy to upgrade his body into wind physique, water physique and inferno physique and many more. After upgrading to wind physique or water physique, the attributes' attacks would be much more powerful. With mighty physiques and invincible attributes, divine dragons would become the most powerful race in the universe. Divine dragons were also divided as Wind Divine Dragon, Fire Divine Dragon, Earth Divine Dragon, Thunder Divine Dragon and so on. Among all the conversion techniques of the Divine Dragon Transformation, he had yet to decide his cultivation direction in the future. However, Wang Xian could enhance his body parts using dragon energy. For example, he could use the dragon energy to strengthen his claws or upgrade his eyes. As a divine dragon, the darkness at night could never blind his vision. Wang Xian dived into the sea and swam to the far end. The ocean at night was as lively as it was in the day. Various fish and sea creatures were swimming in the sea. To the fish there was no day and night. In fact, most of the fish were active and hunting for food at night. At level 2, Wang Xian was not weak in his strength. Because of his mighty physical body and the power of a divine dragon, even a sea creature at level 3 would not be his match. But if he saw a shark, he would not be able to outfight it. To devour marine life like the shark, he would need to wait until he advanced to level 4. For marine life such as killer whales, he would need to advance to at least a level 5 or level 6. Perhaps there are many other mysterious yet daunting marine animals in the vast ocean, Wang Xian thought to himself. He fixed his eyes on a grouper. With a jerk he swam over and swallowed it. Bohai Sea has 2 little schools of fish. If there is a large school of fish in the ocean, my strength will improve quickly. Wang Xian had been hunting, gobbling up the fish and converting them into dragon energy in the area. But the resources in the ocean were not abundant. Due to the wild hunting of the marine animals in the country, the resources were insufficient. There are hundreds of salmon ahead. Wang Xian came to the spot where the clam girl was situated when he saw the school of salmon. He swam speedily and devoured them all at once. Dragon King. Sensing his arrival, the clam girl opened up her clam shell, revealing her clam flesh. Clam girl level 6. Art of Cultivation, Water Dragon Transformation. Superpower, none. After the clam girl became his subordinate, Wang Xian could read more information about her. The clam girl who was practicing her water dragon transformation would become a strong existence for controlling the water element. Continue with your cultivation. The clam girl had just started her cultivation not long before. Hence, there were not many changes to her. Wang Xian left his instruction with her and swam off to other surrounding areas to continue his hunting. Chapter 28, A Massacre Triggered by a Bun 1. Chapter 28, A Massacre Triggered by a Bun 1. Swish. The sun rose into the skies and the rosy red sunlight shone on the sea surface, forming a uniquely beautiful scene. Wang Xian surfaced from within the seas with his naked body. Name Wang Xian. Race, human, able to transform into a dragon. Level, 2. Dragon Energy, 753/10,000. Superpower. Dominate the marine animals, ability to rule any marine animals that are lower than your own level. Devour any form of marine animals for extraction of dragon energy. Art of Cultivation, Divine Dragon Transformation. After a night of devouring, I have only increased my dragon energy by just over 700 points. Wang Xian frowned. He wasn't very lucky the previous night as he did not encounter any school of fish like a school of ribbon fish. Therefore he had only managed to increase his dragon energy by 700 points in a night. Feeling his body getting stronger, a faint smile appeared on his face. Since I got stronger, I don't even feel that sleepy. However, the hunger still remains. Wang Xian still couldn't survive without food at the moment. He swam to the shore, put on his clothes and leapt onto the road easily. If there's anyone who saw this scene, their jaw would have definitely dropped. This was because Wang Xian jumped over 4 meters with a single leap. Luckily, there weren't many people in the vicinity in the morning. There should be some places selling breakfast ahead. Wang Xian looked at the surroundings and thought to himself, there's a seaside holiday resort right ahead. During this hot summer, it would simply be a luxury experience to be able to spend one's holiday there. This resort was rather famous and the food and accommodations in it were rather luxurious. Naturally, the expenses would also be very high. After passing by the entrance of this summer sun resort, Wang Xian looked ahead of him and discovered a few roadside stalls. There were already quite a number of people having breakfast around. Wang Xian walked over and saw a stall selling deep-fried pancakes. He asked directly, "Boss, please give me $5 of deep-fried pancakes and a bowl of soup." "I'm sorry son, we have sold out," replied the boss of the stall with a smile. "So early?" Wang Xian was a little surprised. "It's almost 9 in the morning now. Moreover, there are more people working by the seaside recently," the boss explained. Wang Xian nodded his head and headed to the stall just beside it. After asking several stalls which gave similar replies, he felt a little helpless about the situation. "Boss, do you still have some buns?" Wang Xian arrived at the last stall selling buns and asked the boss. "Yeah, we have one last serving." "Son, you are really lucky." The boss smiled at him. "That's great. Give me a serving of buns and a bowl of soup," Wang Xian replied before walking in and sitting down. "All right, please wait a minute," shouted the boss. "The money has been transferred in." Wang Xian took out his phone and saw the notification messages. He suddenly got a little agitated. 10 million. It's 10 million. The money for the pearls sold just yesterday. The edge of his mouth arched upwards. "Boss, do you still have some buns?" At this moment, 2 middle-aged men walked in. A slightly plump middle-aged man asked the boss. The middle-aged boss looked at the 2 men before replying, "I'm sorry, misters, the last serving of buns has been ordered by that young man in the stall." "Huh?" The slightly plump man frowned. "Boss, what do you think about selling us this last serving of bun? We are willing to offer a higher price." At this moment, the other middle-aged man who was standing beside the plump middle-aged men, asked the boss. The boss felt a little uncomfortable about the idea. He shook his head and replied, "This isn't right. He ordered it first after all." "Why isn't there any more breakfast?" The slightly plump middle-aged man grumbled unhappily. "Director Lee, it will be fine. Leave this to me. Just leave this to me." The plump middle-aged man seemed to be eager to get on the good books of the other middle-aged man. He turned his attention to Wang Xian who was sitting in the stall. He walked forward directly into the stall and took out $100 from his pocket. "Hey pal." The middle-aged man walked beside him. Wang Xian lifted his head, feeling a little surprised. What's the matter? Hey pal, I'd like to buy the last serving of buns for $100, said the middle-aged man as he placed the red cash note on the table in front of Wang Xian. Wang Xian was slightly shocked. Looking at the $100 note, he kept his silence and simply smiled. This serving of buns had cost him $8. If it was like before, he would definitely agree to the suggestion happily. This was because he didn't have money in the past. As for now, he wouldn't allow himself to go hungry for just $100. Wang Xian shook his head and replied, I'm sorry. I'm not selling. The middle-aged man was surprised. He frowned and took out another $100 note from his pocket. $200. I'm not selling. Wang Xian shook his head. Huh. The middle-aged man was clearly displeased at this point. He took out another $100 note and remarked, $300. I'm not offering any higher. Wang Xian lifted his head and looked at the gold necklace around the middle-aged man's neck. I'm not selling no matter what you are offering me. You little brat. The middle-aged man had a ghastly expression upon hearing Wang Xian's reply. What's the matter, Mr. Song? Director Li walked into the stall and asked the middle-aged man with a dissatisfied tone. It's all right, Director Li. I'm offering this brat money but he isn't willing to sell. The middle-aged turned his head over and explained embarrassingly. Isn't this area managed by Zhang Qinyuan? Director Li remarked in a plain tone while looking at Wang Xian. He found Wang Xian a little familiar. Excuse me, misters. At this point, the boss carried the bun and walked over. When the middle-aged man heard what Director Li said, he understood the meaning behind it immediately. He looked at the boss of the stall and said coldly, Boss, this area should be under Zhang Qinyuan, right? Do you need me to give Zhang Qinyuan a call? The boss was stunned for a moment when he heard the name of Zhang Qinyuan. He immediately asked timidly, Is there anything I can help you guys with? Our Director Li hasn't got his breakfast, the middle-aged man replied before looking at Director Li who was beside him. Director Li, please take a seat here. All right. Director Li nodded his head and sat in the seat to the right of Wang Xian. The boss was at a loss. Zhang Qinyuan was in charge of this street. Some of the facilities of this area had been modified by him. Anyone who wished to set up a stall here had to submit rentals to him. Although this place might look deserted, business here was great. Therefore this was a great place to do business for him and allowed him to feed his entire family. The two middle-aged men weren't dressed like ordinary guys and had come in a luxurious car, which was parked right outside. For them to be able to call out Zhang Qinyuan's name, they should have some relationships between them. Son. The boss was fearful of offending the other party and turned to Wang Xian with an embarrassed expression. Son, I'm sorry. Let me get some rice for you? For free. Are you? Wang Xian saw how the boss was acting and was clearly displeased. The boss was clearly wary of the influence these two guys had and would like to give the bun to these two middle-aged men. He didn't blame the boss for this and just kept his vision on the middle-aged man and Director Li beside him. He recognized this Director Li, as he was the boss of first-grade seafood restaurant. When Guan Shuqing had accidentally knocked over the arowana, he almost beat Guan Shuqing up in a fit of anger. If it wasn't for Wang Xian previously, the consequences for Guan Shuqing would be hard to imagine. With regard to Director Li, Wang Xian didn't have a good impression of him. He was even trying to use his influence to bully others over a serving of buns. It's all right, boss. Just give me a bowl of rice. You can give them the bun, Wang Xian said to the boss and didn't make things difficult for him. All right, thank you, son. Thank you. The boss nodded his head in gratitude as he thanked Wang Xian. I was offering you $300 previously and yet you weren't willing to sell. Look at it now. Tiske. The middle-aged man beside him sneered. Chapter 29, A Massacre Triggered by a Bun 2. Chapter 29, A Massacre Triggered by a Bun 2. At the bun stall, Wang Xian looked impassively at Director Li and the middle-aged man. He was slightly embarrassed by the way they got their things done. I'll let you have a taste of regret when the time comes. Cold radiance flashed in Wang Xian's eyes. He was a tit-for-tat person. The middle-aged man scorned at Wang Xian. Subsequently, he bowed and scraped as he passed the pair of chopsticks to Director Li. Director Li, please have it. I had my breakfast. You reaped quite an amount of fish in your farm. I'm sure you'll sign the contract with the two countries in East Asia today. Hey, it's way within my expectation. Otherwise, I would not have loaned $20 million just to set up the fishery, said Director Li with an indifferent tonality. But his expression was full of complacency. This time your profits will double. You're my boss from now on, the middle-aged man quickly added on. Sure, Xiao Zhao, I guarantee you that you will not lose out if you follow me. This year, the fishery will produce at least 300,000 kilograms of goods. The export price is $60 per 500 grams. That would be $36 million. After deducting costs and manpower, the profits can hit around $20 million. Your small little fish pond can expand after today. Director Li nodded with pride. Yes, Director Li. I'll follow you after this year. You got your investment capital back just within a year. That's awesome. Oh right. Have you found a channel for my seafood? I am short on premium seafood supply in the first-grade restaurant. The last supply channel was gone, and the school will reopen soon. The current situation doesn't look optimistic. This will tarnish my brand name. Besides, there is another high-class seafood restaurant opened beside me. Obviously, they want to steal my business. Director Li, leave this to me. I'll help you find one since I know the people from the fish market. Just leave it to me. The newly opened seafood restaurant will never surpass your first-grade restaurant. Fishery? Fish farms? Wang Xian was slightly stunned when he eavesdropped on their conversation about the fishery. He pondered to himself. He put down the rice bowl, took out his phone and began to search for Rivertown fish farms. Oh, there are fish farms over here and they are nearby. Wang Xian studied the information on his phone with a ray of sharp radiance flashing in his eyes. He spun and looked at Director Li and that middle-aged man with his lips slightly drawn. They quickly finished their meals and headed out. Wang Xian stood up and followed them. Young man, I'm sorry. When Wang Xian was at the door paying $2, the boss of the stall apologized to him. It's okay. Wang Xian gestured. When he saw Director Li and the middle-aged man get in the Audi Q7, he quickly asked, Boss, do you know where the nearest fishery is? Fishery? The boss was slightly stunned as he pointed in a direction in front of them. The fishery zones in the river town can be found 700 to 800 meters ahead. Oh, thank you. Wang Xian nodded as he beamed. The Audi was already gone in the direction that the boss had pointed out. Wang Xian immediately followed in the same direction. These 2 days, Wang Xian had never been there before as he always went out to the sea for hunting. Hence, he did not notice the fish farm. Wang Xian sped up. True enough, he spotted Director Li's car parked along the roadside at the turning point 1,000 meters away. He walked over and spotted the fish farms with nets all over the sea. However, there was a protruding spot not far from there. That region extended out to the land with a surface area of 40 hectares which was equivalent to a mini inland sea. However, the region was surrounded by purse seine and other materials so as to form the best geographical location for the fishery. At this time, Director Li and the middle-aged man were standing at the shore, surrounded by a group of workers. A few fishing boats were parked within the fishery. From a distance he could vaguely see various types of fish. There are so many fish here. Wang Xian fixed his astonished eyes on the fishery. This is the fishery that belongs to that Director Li. According to what he said, there are 300,000 kilograms of fish over here. 300,000 kilograms. That is enough for him to advance to the next level. Wang Xian was thrilled, but a cold-looking expression surfaced on his face. With a swift movement, he headed to the sea at the back. He found a remote spot to take off his clothes and entered the sea. Transform into a dragon. As he moved, the golden divine dragon of 1 meter long swished his dragon tail and headed swiftly to the location where the fisheries were. There are many fish varieties in each fishery. Wang Xian swam around and passed by many fisheries, but he did not enter to devour the fish. The owners of these fisheries did not offend him. Wang Xian would not harm anyone else just to advance his levels. He still had basic moral principles. However, he would not spare that fishery of Director Li. Soon Wang Xian swam to the side of that fishery. Through the water, he could see Director Li and the middle-aged man on the shore. They actually used steel wire mesh. Wang Xian saw the row of steel wire mesh at the opening that prevented the fish from escaping. Wang Xian chuckled softly. He stretched out his claws and slammed it hard on the mesh. Kakaka. Soon the steel wire mesh was broken and Wang Xian entered. Voila! Large yellow croaker, level 0. Extractable dragon energy, 008. When he just entered the farm, he saw a yellow croaker of about 1 kilogram. A smile surfaced on his face. As Wang Xian emanated his dragon power, the large yellow croaker shuddered and stayed still immediately. At level 2, his dragon power not only covered an area of 10 meters, but the marine animals within 10 meters, which were lower levels than him, would be oppressed and controlled by him. At a size of 1 meter, Wang Xian opened his mouth and gulped down the fish. The sea was about 5 to 6 meters deep. No one would discover Wang Xian at the bottom of the sea. Come, get some workers along with me to the sea and bring some fish up. When the partners from the 2 countries are here, we can also introduce the fish to them. Just then Wang Xian seemed to hear Director Li's voice. The sea water could not blur his vision as he looked up. Director Li and the middle-aged man boarded a fishing boat, and one of the workers drove the boat to the center of the sea. Bring a few fish of different varieties up. Director Li ordered the worker at the side. Yes, boss. The worker nodded. He brought out a net and threw it into the fish farm casually. Soon, dozens of bred fish like sea bass, yellow croaker, groupers and puffer fish were caught in the net. They were some of the goods from the fishery. Boss, the fish are good. I'm sure they can fetch a good price this year, said the worker holding the fish. Good. Not bad. Ah, Director Li laughed out. When the people from the 2 countries are here, I'm sure our cooperation will be a breeze. I'm sure there will be no problem. After signing this contract, we can have our own supply channel. For the next few years we will only earn big money. The middle-aged man fawned over Director Li. Yes. Director Li stood on the fishing boat and looked out at his fishery with excitement. From now on, this place would be his Aladdin's cave. Chapter 30, A Massacre Triggered by a Bun, 3. Chapter 30, A Massacre Triggered by a Bun, 3. Sign the contract. Wang Xian, who was at the bottom of the sea, revealed a tinge of coldness upon hearing their conversation. He turned his vision to the densely packed yellow croaker fish, sea bass, grouper and puffer fish around him and showed a faint smile. The massacre triggered by a bun is just about to start. This should let you know the consequences of offending me and also not to be so arrogant in your actions. Wang Xian shifted his body and activated his dragon power. Different types of fish gathered tightly around him. Shifting his body again, all the fish were gathering towards him. This place was different from the sea as the fish were all packed in a small area. Close to 300 tons of fish were being bred in this confined area and they were free for him to devour. The extractable dragon energy from bred fish are a little lower than those from the other fish. However, their strength lies in their large numbers. Wang Xian got agitated and opened his mouth widely to devour fish after fish in a frenzied manner. There were several hundreds of fish around him. Even if he was devouring one with each mouthful, it would still take a long time under normal circumstances. Wang Xian's dragon energy was increasing at a terrifying pace. His body size was also growing rapidly from 1 meter at the beginning to approximately 1.5 meters. As for the fish in the fish farm, they were decreasing at a rapid pace. Great, this feels really great. His strength was increasing rapidly. After an hour, Wang Xian's body size had reached close to 2 meters. His devouring speed had increased by 10 times and was able to devour a dozen fish per mouthful. And at this moment, Director Li, who was on shore, still had no idea what was happening within his fish farm. There were 6 to 7 men standing beside him beside the shore. These people were clearly not Chinese and Director Li was accompanying them with a cheerful grin. Hello everyone. This is my fish farm. It is the largest and the best fish farm in the entire river town. We are different from those fish farms who do seine fish by the sea. Our farm is 5 meters deep and the fish we breed have qualities similar to those from the wild. We have yellow croaker fish, puffer fish, grouper and sea bass being reared right here. We have some of them right here and you are free to come and take a look at the quality. Director Li spoke confidently to the group of people. Among this group of people, 2 old men walked over. They squatted down, took a look at the fish in the sea and nodded their heads slightly. The quality looks great from the exterior. However, if we are going to sign a long-term cooperation agreement, we've got to understand more and in more detail, one of the old men said to Director Li. Naturally. Director Li nodded his head. We can catch some fish from this place and ask the chef to cook them right away. Since we are going to work together, we should help each other. There would definitely not be any problem. Great. I appreciate Director Li's honesty. If the fish are of top grade, we are willing to sign the contract with you. A middle-aged foreigner replied with a smile. In that case, please follow me. I believe that the fish from our farm will not disappoint you guys. Director Lee made an invitational pose to the group, and the group of people boarded the fishing boat by the sea. Go to the center and catch a dozen fish to show our clients. Director Lee walked forward and said to the worker at the fish farm. All right, boss. The worker nodded his head, operated the fishing boat and headed towards the center of the fish farm. This fish farm is pretty big and could possibly produce quite a number of types of fish each year. If their fish meet our requirement, we could work with them. After all, their offer price and quantity are pretty attractive. On the fishing board, the group of foreigners conversed softly in their own language. Director Lee noticed their expressions. He continued, my fish farm could breed 400 to 500 tons of fish. For this year, this number is about 300 tons. The number would be even greater next year. Director Lee, your fish farm is great. Let's hope that we can work together, a foreigner replied. It is also my wish to work with you guys. A burst of excitement flashed past Director Lee's eyes. I have a restaurant just some distance away. Let me be a good host and treat you guys to a sumptuous meal during the afternoon. Definitely, definitely. The crowd smiled and nodded their heads. The fishing boat arrived at the center of the fish farm. Director Lee signaled to the worker and instructed, get some fish for us. All right, boss. That worker nodded his head, took out a huge net and threw it ahead of him. The crowd moved to the front of the boat to take a closer look. Swish. The net fell quickly into the water and the worker quickly pulled it back. However, he was shocked when he noticed that the net was empty. I didn't catch any? The worker was a little embarrassed. He smiled at Director Lee and explained, Director Lee, let me do it again. The fish are not concentrated here. It's all right, it's all right. Director Lee shook his head and wasn't too concerned. He looked to the crowd and explained, in order to let the fish have a better environment for growth, the fish in our fish farm aren't very concentrated. The crowd smiled and weren't too concerned either. The fishing boat moved ahead by several dozens of meters. The worker took out the net and threw it ahead of him once again. Swish. As the fishing net fell into the water, the worker started pulling the net back immediately. However, to his astonishment, he still hadn't caught a single fish. What's happening? The worker mumbled to himself in shock. When Director Lee saw what had happened, he also frowned. What's the matter? Didn't we easily catch a dozen fish just this morning? Boss, I'm not too sure. Let me give it another try. The worker frowned, sorted out the fishing net and threw it to the surroundings once again. The fish net scattered perfectly on the water. The worker smiled and remarked, there should be fish this time. However, when he pulled the net up, there still wasn't a single fish. This time the worker was even more shocked. Director Lee also frowned and said, what's the matter? Why isn't there a single fish in this area? What's wrong? Why aren't there any fish despite scattering the net several times? This shouldn't be happening? What's wrong? Doubts surfaced on the foreigners' faces. They took a glance at Director Lee before looking at the fish farm. Perhaps the fish are all gathered at another location. Xiaohua, let's get closer to the edge. The worker was confused as he spoke to the young man operating the boat. The fishing boat approached the edge and that worker threw out the fishing net immediately. Splash. The fishing net fell into the sea. After pulling the net up, there was still not a single fish. How could it be? How could it be? The worker was full of shock and surprise. He scattered the net to the surrounding area several more times but still came up empty-handed. Director Lee was stunned. He frowned, looked at the surroundings and was clearly embarrassed. How can there be no fish? There were still a lot of them in the morning. Why isn't there any now? Director Lee asked with a ghastly expression. Boss, I have no idea either. Logically speaking, we should be getting a lot of fish by just pulling up our net. This type of thing shouldn't be happening. The worker looked like he was wronged and was clearly displeased. What just happened? How can there be no fish in such a large fish farm? Director Lee, where are your fish? The group of foreigners frowned as they asked Director Lee. Chapter 31 Level 3 and the Despairing Director Lee. Chapter 31, Level 3 and the Despairing Director Lee. Fish? They already converted to dragon energy. You would have never expect to pay such a hefty price for snatching my buns away. Wang Xian overheard their conversations in the sea with a faint smile on his face. He looked around him. Currently, only one school of fish from the fish farm was left, controlled by him. Wang Xian opened his mouth wide. He swung his tail slightly and darted out like a sharp arrow. A few hundred fish were devoured by him easily as he passed through them. Extracted 0.09 Dragon Energy. 10,000 Dragon Energy completed. Evolved to Divine Dragon Level 3. At the same time, Wang Xian sensed an immense dragon energy charging and strengthening his body. The dragon scales, amid golden glow, were even more firm and secure. His pair of dragon claws were stronger and tougher. Every single strike of the claws contained a daunting amount of destructive power. His body weighed even more with two imposing dragon beards at the side. Name Wang Xian. Race, human, able to transform into a dragon. Level 3, Dragon Energy. 1/100, 000. Superpower. Dominate the marine animals, ability to rule any marine animals that are lower than own existing level. Devour any form of marine animals for extraction of dragon energy. Art of Cultivation. Divine Dragon Transformation. Level 3. With my current physical body, I guess even a bullet would not hurt me. But according to my research, my human form is much weaker than my dragon form, Wang Xian thought to himself. He did a demonstration last night. He tried to knock himself against a boulder, and the dragon scales on him were unscathed. But his human form was weaker than his dragon form by 2 times. Wang Xian's current physical body could take a bullet from a handgun or even some guns that are more powerful. I still left with the last few thousand fish. I will devour them all and leave nothing here. Wang Xian moved his body at an extremely high speed. Within 5 minutes, the remaining fish left in the fishery were all devoured. The entire fishery was left with no fish. All of them were exterminated. Director Li was on tenterhooks as he stood on the fishing boat. His body was shuddering and his voice was shaking. Carry on with the search. Carry on. How could the fish be missing? Yes, boss. The worker on the boat wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. He had cast over 20 nets just now, and none of them caught any fish. This was extremely peculiar. How could the fish be missing out of the blue from a fishery with at least 300,000 kilograms of fish goods? Voila! The fish net was cast into the sea and the same thing happened again. An empty net was pulled out from it. Director Li was getting the creeps when he saw the same thing happening all over again. Director Li, didn't you say you have 300,000 kilograms of fish in your fishery? Where are they now? Yes, Director Li. For both parties to establish a partnership, we need to see your fish. But now. At this time, a group of foreigners on the fishing boat frowned as they looked at Director Li in dismay. Without fish, how are they going to establish the partnership? Upon hearing what they said, Director Li darkened his expression as his heart was racing in fear. The fishery had cost him $20 million to set up. $20 million was invested in the rental and manpower down to the setup, fry and the fish food. Now he was ready to use the fish goods in the fishery to recover that sum of money. But all the fish goods in the entire fishery had vanished. Vanished. No doubt this had impacted him significantly, and he was at risk of bankruptcy. Use a bigger net and pull them out. I don't believe 300,000 kilograms of fish can disappear without reason. Director Li called out to his worker with a sullen face instead of answering to those foreigners. As the worker on the boat observed the expression on his boss's face, his blood ran cold. Immediately, he called upon all the other workers to harvest for fish with the purse seine. 3 fishing boats reached the center of the fishery and deployed large purse seine to encircle the school with the net. Time passed quickly, and the blazing hot sun was hanging in the sky. Sweat was breaking on Director Li's forehead while the middle-aged man at the side handed a piece of tissue to him gingerly. The group of foreigners stood at the side, watching him passively. The 3 fishing boats began to harvest the fish, and the net was drawn up quickly. However, nothing. There were no fish at all. The entire fishery seemed to be completely empty without a single fish fry left. Let's go. We wasted a few days of our time. Yes, what a disappointing trip. Next time, we will not be cooperating with a fishery without any credential. The foreigners who stood at the side of the fishery shook their heads as they stared at Director Li coldly. One by one they turned and walked out. Why? Why? Director Li's eyes opened wide as he murmured to himself while looking at the sea and the fishery. There was only despair left. He seemed to be in a trance-like state as he stumbled and fell on the ground. Director Li, Director Li. The middle-aged man exclaimed as he held Director Li up. It's all over. Director Li sat on the floor with mixed expressions. Director Li, we can start all over again. Don't give up. The middle-aged man consoled him. It's over. All over. I need to pay back $20 million loans this year. Unless I sell away all my assets, otherwise. Director Li was dazed as he sat there with his eyes empty. The middle-aged man was stunned for a moment and lost his tongue. Don't blame me for being ruthless. Blame it on yourself. Wang Xian glared at Director Li, who was sitting on the shore with cold eyes. He rocked his body and swam towards the sea speedily. The 2-meter-long body gave off a mighty and imposing vibe. When he reached the steel wire mesh at the exit, Wang Xian stuck out his dragon claws and ripped the wire mesh into a large hole such that he could dive out from it. His speed in the sea was so fast that even the sharks were slower than him. In the sea, the marlins and the swordfish were the only two types of fish that could swim faster than him. At first, I thought I would need more than 10 days to advance to level 3. This is totally a surprise. Now it's only 2 p.m. I shall catch some seafood and do some outdoor cooking back at school. Wang Xian was feeling chirpy. Level advancement and the $10 million in his bank cheered him up. The only thing that was not going well for him was his empty stomach. He swam back to the sea and caught 3 lobsters and some swimming crabs before he came back to the shore. Chapter 32 2 week. Chapter 32 2 week. Emerging from the seas, Wang Xian put his clothes back on. Since his level had advanced to level 3, there'd been an invisible might of the dragon emitting from his body. At the same time, his body became slender and of perfect proportion. Through the strengthening by the dragon energy, his skin was fair and flawless without any marks. Wang Xian revealed a faint smile. He stretched his back before looking for a string to tie up all the lobsters and swimming crabs. I'm going to have a good rest when I get back. Wang Xian clenched his fist as he felt the strength of his body. With a face of smiles, he headed forward. It's easier to get a private hire car nearer to the Summer Sun Resort. Therefore, he had chosen to walk towards the entrance of the Summer Sun Resort. The sun was hung high up in the sky during the early afternoon. When it was noontime, the skies started to darken. Wang Xian raised his head and took a look at the weather. Perhaps I might be able to summon clouds and make it rain as I wish one day. Wang Xian thought to himself. He smiled and arrived at the entrance of the Summer Sun Resort. There was a huge fountain in front of the main gates of the resort. At the sides of the gate, there were trees and other plants as decoration. These plants cast shadows over an area and there were some tables and chairs under the shade that was available for others to take a break. Wang Xian noticed that there weren't any private hire cars at the entrance. He took out his phone and started calling for one through the internet. It's raining now. However, at this moment, small droplets of rain started falling from the skies. Wang Xian immediately ran towards the shade of the trees. When he arrived at the shade, he saw a middle-aged and old man within it. The old man was wearing a white martial arts suit made of silk and looked just like the typical old people who practice Tai Chi in the garden in the morning. As for the middle-aged man, he was wearing a shirt and standing by the side. He was looking at the old man with caring eyes. Wang Xian's arrival drew the attention of the middle-aged man. He took a glance at him and didn't pay attention to him thereafter. Wang Xian placed the lobsters and swimming crabs by the side before picking up his phone to continue his booking. Vroom vroom vroom. At this moment, the revving sounds of the engine of a sports car sounded over. Wang Xian turned his head to take a look and noticed a teenager running out of a Ferrari towards him. Grandfather. The teenager looked very strong and healthy. With a simple jump, he leapt over the grass and started shouting excitedly towards the old man, "Grandfather, I've made the breakthrough." Huh. The old man looked at his grandson and revealed a satisfied look. Not bad, not bad. You are much better than your father. Your father had only made the breakthrough when he was 27 years old. Grandfather, come and give me some guidance. The teenager rubbed his hands excitedly. The old man saw Wang Xian. He waved his hand and replied to his grandson, "Let's do it at night. It's not very convenient right now." The teenager was taken aback slightly. He took a glance at Wang Xian, who was standing just beside them, and knew that his grandfather was a little wary. He turned towards Wang Xian and said directly, "Hey brother, do you mind excusing yourself from here? We have some matters to attend to." When Wang Xian heard his words, doubts arose in his mind as he looked at the teenager in front of him. His demanding demeanor pissed Wang Xian off and thus he just ignored the teenager. The teenager frowned and a cold and murderous intent flashed past his eyes. He walked slowly towards Wang Xian. Xiaojing, don't cause trouble, the old man reminded him when he noticed his grandson was walking over. Grandfather, I'll just be inviting him away. I won't cause any trouble. The teenager seemed to be a little fearful of the old man as he turned around and replied to him. After which, he extended his hand over to Wang Xian and grabbed his shoulder. Wang Xian lifted an eyebrow when he saw the action of the teenager. Looking at his extended arm, Wang Xian moved his right arm and grabbed onto the teenager's arm. What do you want? Wang Xian lifted his head and said coldly to the teenager. The teenager looked surprised. Soon after, the corner of his mouth arched up slightly as he spoke. Your reaction is pretty quick. Moving his arm, he reverse grabbed onto Wang Xian's right arm. So fast. A normal person definitely couldn't achieve this speed. Wang Xian was slightly shocked as he looked at the teenager grabbing onto his arm. At this point, he recalled the conversation between them and the martial artist the boss robber had mentioned previously. Could it be that they are martial artists? Hey brat, please get out of our sight. The teenager looked at Wang Xian with eyes of mockery and disdain. However, he was gradually applying force with his palm. Pretty strong. Wang Xian was once again slightly shocked as he felt the strength of the teenager through his arm. At the same time, he started exerting a little strength onto the arm of the teenager. Arg! You are seeking your own death. A horrifying shriek of pain propagated, following which the teenager growled furiously. The middle-aged man and old man were shocked when they heard the shriek and quickly turned around. Xiaojing, stop it. Don't injure others. They shouted when they saw the teenager lifting his leg and sweeping it viciously towards Wang Xian. Feeling his arm going numb, the angered teenager didn't stop but instead attacked furiously with his right leg. It's you who are seeking your own death. Wang Xian saw the vicious attack from the teenager. His expression turned colder and he reached out his palm directly. What seemed like an unstoppable right leg was grabbed directly and no longer pushed ahead. Similarly, Wang Xian lifted his leg and kicked towards the chest of the teenager. Bam! The strong impact force smashed the teenager onto the stone bench by the side. The teenager couldn't hold back and vomited blood, followed by a horrifying shriek. How dare you injure my son? Everything happened in just a blink of an eye. They had initially thought that this young man would be injured by the teenager. However, in just an instant, Xiaojing was the one who was so gravely injured that he spat out blood from the impact. The middle-aged man was stunned. However, he moved quickly subsequently and attacked Wang Xian like a leopard hunting its prey. Wang Xian looked at the middle-aged man and murderous intent started to build up. The speed of the middle-aged man was much faster than the teenager. However, it was still too slow in his eyes. Looking at the fist that was attacking towards him, he reached out his hand directly. He stopped the fist with one hand and stopped it from moving an inch. The middle-aged man was shocked. The punch he had put all his strength in was stopped as though it was being fixed in the position. Too weak. Wang Xian also lifted his fist and attacked towards the stomach of the middle-aged man. Bam! The mighty strength of the divine dragon sent the middle-aged man to his knees directly. Hey pal, this is just a misunderstanding. The old man was dumbfounded to see the young man defeating his grandson and son with just a kick and a punch. He quickly interrupted. Wang Xian looked to the old man and shrugged his shoulders slightly. I don't think that this is just a misunderstanding. I'm sorry, son. I'm sorry. I'm Shuiliangren, please accept my apologies. The old man hurried over and said to Wang Xian with his right fist clasped in his left palm. Please forgive us. My grandson and son failed to recognize how mighty you are. If they have offended you, please allow me to apologize for them. The old man repeated himself. Cough cough. The old man was a little agitated and started coughing violently. He quickly took out a white handkerchief to wipe his mouth and his blood was all over the handkerchief. Wang Xian looked at the old man. He shook his head slightly and remarked, forget it. He wasn't a person with violent tendencies. If the teenager's attitude was better and he hadn't wanted to show his strength in front of him, he would not have retaliated. Moreover, he had not controlled his strength well when he attacked previously. He had thought that the other party was strong but they were unexpectedly weak to spit out blood after just taking a kick. This guy was just too unlucky. Too weak, too weak. Is this the strength of a martial artist? Chapter 33 Respect. Chapter 33, Respect. Father. The middle-aged man kneeling on the floor had cold sweat breaking on his forehead. He endured the pain and stood up as he saw his father spit out a mouthful of fresh blood. Then he walked to the side of the old man. I'm fine. The old man waved his hand with an ashen face. Take a look at Xiao Jing and call the ambulance. The middle-aged man nodded. He swept a wary gaze at Wang Xian and walked quickly to his son. Xiao Jing, are you all right? The expression of the middle-aged man was awful as he placed his hand on the chest of the juvenile. Immediately he fished for his phone and called an ambulance. How could this young man be so formidable? I don't think I was his match even during my peak. Shui Liangren coughed again as he observed Wang Xian with terror. It never rains but it pours. Not only did he sustain serious injuries, but his grandson also encountered a formidable expert. He did not expect that the arrogant behavior of his grandson would bring such a disastrous consequence. If the other party insisted on going after them, that would be simply an undeserved catastrophe for the Shui family. The moment he thought of this, Shui Liangren felt his injuries worsen. He staggered to a seat that had a briefcase on it. Without hesitation he took out a checkbook and wrote $10 million on it. This was a gift of apology. Even if they could not befriend him, they could never allow themselves to provoke such a young and formidable expert at this time. Wang Xian did not bother about them as he peered at the three generations. If someone provokes me, I'll definitely pay them back. Otherwise, I would not provoke anyone without reason. This was Wang Xian's principle even though he possessed a powerful strength now. Of course, he knew he needed to remove all source of trouble if they were his foes. After all, he had seen and read so many dramas and novels. A good man died for his kindness while a scoundrel died for speaking too much. Young chap. When Wang Xian was about to hop in a cab and leave, the old man came to him slowly. Her? Wang Xian raised his eyebrow when he spun and looked at the old man. My grandson was reckless and offended you just now. I'm here to apologize on his behalf. The old man took the check in both hands and handed to Wang Xian. $10 million? Wang Xian was shocked to see the figures on the check. $10 million. This is $10 million. The old man is offering this amount of money as an apology. He looked at the old man stunned. Please accept it. Seeing no response from Wang Xian, he thought Wang Xian was not going to forgive them. Hence, he pleaded again with trepidation. Cough cough. After he finished his sentence, he began to cough non-stop again. He quickly covered his mouth with his hand, but blood was dripping off from it. Upon seeing this, Wang Xian took the check. Thank you for forgiving us. The pale-looking old man had a faint smile on his face. Father. When the middle-aged man at the side heard the coughing, he was so worried that he looked over and called to him. I will not take this money for nothing. Wang Xian looked at the old man and said. He placed his palm on the chest area of that old man. Young chap. The old man stiffened up when Wang Xian suddenly struck, as he was not able to resist him at all. Without saying a word, an amount of dragon energy entered the old man's body. Almost immediately, the condition of the old man appeared in Wang Xian's mind. There was a black spot at the heart. Besides that, he found unique energy in 8 extraordinary meridians which protected his heart. Otherwise he would have been dead. Could this energy be so-called internal energy? Wang Xian was doubtful when he was examining the injuries in the old man's body. He pressed his palm against the old man's chest. As he gently pressed down his palm twice, the dragon energy traveled to the location where the black spot was. The dragon energy was the most formidable energy of all. It could strengthen the physical body and upgrade marine animals. As such, it had a tremendous effect in healing too. After consuming about 100 points of dragon energy, Wang Xian cleared up the black spot around his heart. He pressed his palm again when he saw the clotted blood in the old man's body. This? Just when the old man was freaked out, he suddenly felt a stream of warm energy envelope his heart. Soon after, he felt something gush out of his throat, and he spat out a mouthful of black-colored blood. What are you doing? Don't hurt my father. Otherwise, I'll fight you out with my life. Shut up. The middle-aged man had bloodshot eyes as he raged when his father spat out blood after Wang Xian placed his palm on his chest. However, the old man stopped him before he could finish his sentence. Different from his previous breathless voice, he sounded full of energy. Young chap, you're my benefactor. Thank you. Thank you for treating my injury. Thank you. The old man bent his body with his fists cupped as he bowed to Wang Xian. His cheeks were blushed and his eyes were filled with excitement. The moment he spat the blood, he knew he was fully recovered from his injury. The old man knew that this injury of his almost had his life. It was difficult to treat and recover from it. Yet, what the young man before him did was place his palm at his chest, and it was healed after some presses. What kind of ability was this? Even the disciples of the medical saint or one of the highly skilled doctors from the Sacred Followers Guild would not be able to get this cured at this speed. Is he the disciple of the medical saint? Or one of the disciples from the Sacred Followers Guild? This is freaking scary. You're welcome, this will pay for your medical bills. Wang Xian waved the check in his hand. He looked and walked over to the juvenile who was in a coma. Might as well do it together. In a nutshell, the juvenile could only blame his condition on his luck as he offended Wang Xian, while he had no idea of the strength he possessed. In the end he spat blood after his kick and it almost cost him a life. Since the old man gave $10 million, Wang Xian regarded it as their medical bills. Wang Xian did not want to take advantage of others. Spending more than 100 points of dragon energy in exchange for $10 million was quite a good deal for him. Wang Xian came to the juvenile and placed his hand on his chest. Under the scan of the dragon energy, he realized that a few of his rib bones were broken and one of them even pierced through his lungs. His injuries were rather severe. If not for his strong physique, he could have died by now. Wang Xian shook his head and healed the juvenile with his dragon energy. The juvenile opened his eyes as his injuries were slowly recovering. When he saw Wang Xian, he could not help but shudder. You should thank him for treating you. He forgave you and healed your injuries. You better apologize and thank him now. Xiao Jing, apologize and thank him now. Our benefactor cured your grandfather and you. You should thank him. The juvenile was shocked when he heard what his grandfather and father said. He stared, terrified, at the smiling Wang Xian, who possessed formidable strength that could kill him in 1 second. Big brother, I'm sorry. I was acting impetuously just now. It's all my fault. Thank you. Thank you for your magnanimous actions. The juvenile quickly answered without the previous self-conceited attitude. Chapter 34, The Ancient Martial Arts Family, Shui Family. Chapter 34, The Ancient Martial Arts Family, Shui Family. Blessing in disguise, blessing in disguise. At this point, the old and middle-aged men were looking at the recovering teenager excitedly. They would have never expected that this mysterious and strong young man would forego the past and treat their injuries. The old man couldn't help but feel fortunate about his initial attitude and the wise decision to give him $10 million. It's done, Wang Xian stood up and said plainly to the old man. He had a rather good impression of the old and middle-aged men. When the teenager attacked him, the two of them immediately shouted at the teenager for him to stop. Subsequently, the old men even apologized sincerely. At that moment, Wang Xian had already forgiven them. After which, the old man even gave him $10 million. This was the main reason for him to help to cure their injuries. Thank you, pal. Old man Shui Yangren clasped his right fist with his left palm as he thanked Wang Xian. Thank you, benefactor. Thank you, big brother. The middle-aged man and teenager also thank him in succession. Although that teenager was probably older than Wang Xian, he still addressed Wang Xian as big brother. There's no way he could not be convinced of Wang Xian's capabilities. It's all right, you have paid for your medical fees. Wang Xian waved his hand and said to the old man. Pal, these medical fees are nothing compared with my injuries. If there's anything my Shui family could help you with, feel free to instruct us. We would not reject you. Shui Yangren spoke sincerely. Wang Xian looked at the old man and smiled. He changed his tone before continuing, There's something I'm curious about and would like to ask if you are willing to tell me? If I know, I would not keep anything back. The old man replied in a hurry. When it comes to cultivating, do you mind explaining it in detail to me? Wang Xian asked curiously. He had no knowledge about martial artists, cultivation and internal energy at all. Cultivate? Shui Yangren was a little shocked. However, he organized his thoughts quickly and said, The current cultivation ways are known as ancient martial arts. Those who have stepped into the world of ancient martial arts are known as martial artists and are hidden within cities. Although there aren't a lot of them, the numbers are definitely not small. They exist in the forms of families or sections. Many large corporations are directly or indirectly controlled by martial artist families or sections. Martial artists could be segregated into 9 levels. Through absorbing spiritual energy, they are able to open their 8 extraordinary meridians. One could advance a level by opening one extraordinary meridian. When all 8 extraordinary meridians are opened, one would be at level 9. When one had sufficient and complete spiritual energy, they would be classified as inborn. Inborn experts are the real experts in the world. I Shuiliangren am not too gifted. I was exposed to ancient martial arts by accident when I was young. Now that I'm 85 years old, I'm only at level 6 and am the number 5 in Rivertown. This allows me to support my small Shui family. Oh. Wang Xian nodded his head in deep thought upon hearing what the old man said. The world is mysterious and he wouldn't find it strange that it had martial artists. My son Shui Jiahua is pretty capable and is currently at martial artist level 5. My grandson Shui Jing is even more gifted and is at martial artist level 4, the old man added. He looked at Wang Xian and continued, with your strength, you are probably at martial artist level 7. You are really insanely gifted and a once-in-a-million-years talent. Level 7? Wang Xian was slightly shocked. His current level was only 3. However, his level 3 was based on the Divine Dragon's classification. In other words, he could fight with human martial artists 4 levels above him. Level 4 martial artists could dodge a bullet and level 5 martial artists could survive under gunfire. When one reaches level 6, ordinary bullets would not be a threat anymore. At level 7 one could ignore bullets. Only concentrated cannon bombardment could kill you. As for level 8 and 9 one would be even stronger. When one reached the inborn stage one could be the ruler of a region. Shuiliangren explained this slowly. Wang Xian nodded his head and broke into laughter. Thank you for the information. I have some things to attend to and I'll be leaving now. Hey pal, I'll get Jiahua to send you back. The old man replied in a hurry. It's alright, I'll just call for a car. Wang Xian shook his head and rejected the offer. Big brother, let me give you a ride. My car is just right there. Shui Jing spoke immediately and pointed to his sports car by the side. Yeah pal, let Xiao Jing give you a ride. It would be quicker. The old man seconded. Alright. Wang Xian saw the private hire car left from the entrance of the resort and therefore didn't reject this time. Come big brother, let me help you carry this. You can just get into the car. Shui Jing acted sensibly as he took the large lobsters and swimming crabs at the side before running towards the sports car quickly to open the car door. Wang Xian nodded at Shui Jing and sat in it directly. Shui Jing smiled and closed the door carefully. Xiao Jing. At this point, Shuiliangren and the middle-aged man walked over and shouted at Shui Jing. Grandfather, father. Shui Jing walked up immediately and greeted. This is the family membership card for our summer sun holiday resort. Please pass it to that pal. You must definitely treat him well. This might just be an opportunity for the Shui family. Remember this. Our Shui family is still very weak. Shuiliangren instructed Shui Jing sternly. Rest assured, grandfather. I know what I have to do and I won't be rash. Shui Jing nodded his head solemnly. Get this pal back quickly. Shuiliangren patted him on the shoulders. Yes. Shui Jing got into his car immediately. Big brother, where would you like to go? University of Rivertown, Wang Xian replied with a smile upon hearing how Shui Jing addressed him, seeing the blood stains on his clothes. Alright big brother. Big brother, are you a student at the University of Rivertown? I graduated from that university in the past, Shui Jing said with a smiling face. He started the car and saw Wang Xian nod his head. At this point he took out the family membership card for Summer Sun Resort that his grandfather had passed to him. This was a family membership card. Although it might sound cliché, it was much more valuable than the platinum or diamond cards that they gave to other customers. Family membership card was representing the Shui family. Up till this point in time, the Shui family had only issued 2 such cards. One who possessed this card could enjoy the best service in Summer Sun Resort without any cost forever. Moreover, family membership card gave the impression of closeness and could help them shorten the distance between them. Big brother, this is a family membership card for our Summer Sun Resort and is our highest grade card. With this card, you can enjoy the most premium service at no cost forever. If big brother has the time, you can drop by. Feel free to bring your friends along. Shui Jing held the card beside Wang Xian as he explained. Summer Sun Resort. When Wang Xian saw this card he was a little surprised. Summer Sun Resort is your family's property. Yes big brother. We have another Summer Sun International Hotel in the city too. This card could also be used there. Big brother, please accept this, replied Xuejing. It's all right. Wang Xian was slightly stunned. He had not expected the family of 3 generations would be the owner of Summer Sun Resort. This explained why they could take out $10 million as compensation directly. Big brother, you have to accept it. I'm under the orders of my grandfather and father. Otherwise, I will be beaten by them when I get back. Xuejing turned around and acted pitifully. What the? Wang Xian was speechless when he saw how he acted. Acting cute? You are a grown-up now. Is it fine to act cute in front of me? And keep calling me big brother? Chapter 35, Consent and Rejection. Chapter 35, Consent and Rejection. Big brother, take care. Xuejing sent Wang Xian to the school gate and waved to him zealously. Wang Xian nodded. He swung the bag of lobsters and swimming crabs back to school. Phew. Xuejing let out a loud breath as he looked at Wang Xian's back view. He then added Wang Xian on his WeChat immediately with a thrilled face. Boom. Once Wang Xian returned to his room, he threw the lobsters and the swimming crabs into a basin. Then he looked at the family membership card of Summer Sun Resort and that $10 million check. I'll bank in the money first. The time was 4 p.m. Wang Xian placed the family membership card into his wallet and headed out with the check. He rode his Harley motorcycle to the nearest bank. After depositing the check, his balance had broken the $20 million mark. Such a young age with $20 million assets. Sigh. Wang Xian tossed his bank card into the air as if he was some big shot before he got back on his motorcycle. Then he bought new utensils, sauces, etc. when he was at the supermarket. After everything was done, it was already past 5 p.m. Wang Xian took out his phone and dialed Guan Shuqing. Hello, Wang Xian. Upon receiving Wang Xian's call, Guan Shuqing, who was upset with her father's call earlier on, turned gleeful. Are you free tonight? I got some lobsters and swimming crabs. Want to do some outdoor cooking? Wang Xian asked Guan Shuqing with a grin. When Guan Shuqing treated him to dinner last night, he told her that it would be a seafood feast from now on. Tonight? Sure. Are there any huge lobsters? Asked Guan Shuqing smilingly, who brightened up her eyes when she heard Wang Xian's question. Of course. I still have big lobsters and some swimming crabs. I'll change the menu for you a few days from now, Wang Xian chuckled and replied. Hee, then I shall not stand on ceremony with you. From now on, I'll get to have great food from the nouveau riche. Guan Shuqing could not hide her happiness from her face. Sure, no problem. Come to Eastern Hill after work. Wang Xian nodded. Okay. Guan Shuqing nodded and hung up with a face full of smiles as she held her phone. Shuqing. Just then, a young man interrupted her imaginings. Her? Director Zhou. Guan Shuqing spun and quickly called out when she saw the young man. There will be a small gathering tonight. Come along too. It's a celebration for closing the international deal. The young man looked at Guan Shuqing with a tinge of greed flashing in his eyes. Her? Tonight? Director Zhou, I don't think I can make it. I promised my friend to have dinner together. Guan Shuqing was slightly stunned, and she quickly shook her head and declined. She had already promised Wang Xian. Her? What? The young man frowned. 8 of us from the business operation team and the translation team will be gathering tonight. Although you are temporary staff, you should not miss it either. Come on, Shuqing. We are going to the nearby famous restaurant, first-grade restaurant. But, Guan Shuqing had a look of difficulty on her face when she heard his tonality, but I already promised my friend. If I don't go. Are there many of them? Why not this? If there aren't many, you can bring your friend over since all of us are young people in the company, said the young man after observing Guan Shuqing's expression. Just one, but, Guan Shuqing knit her eyebrows tightly as she hesitated. No worries. Get your friend to come over. We'll have dinner together since your friend is the top student from the University of Rivertown. In the future, I might go to your school to scout for talents too. Just nice, I can get to know your friend and probably all of you can join my company. The young man gestured with a big-hearted smile as he spoke. Upon seeing his attitude, Guan Shuqing knew it would be a slap in his face if she continued to decline. Hence, she hesitated and nodded her head. I'll ask my friend. Okay, give your friend a call. Shuqing, you can't miss the gathering tonight. The young man chuckled while straightening his suit. Okay. Guan Shuqing nodded. She fished out her phone and walked to the side. The young man drew his lips. It's better if her friend is a girl, but it doesn't matter even if it's a guy. He smiled confidently before heading back to his office. Wang Xian wondered why when he saw Guan Shuqing's number on the phone when they just ended the conversation not long ago. Why do you call again? He questioned. Wang Xian, there's a gathering with my colleagues tonight. My boss wants me to go no matter what, Guan Shuqing said. Before Wang Xian could say anything, she quickly added on, I already turned my boss down, but he asked me to come with my friend. Why don't you join us as well? I don't think this is right, is it? Wang Xian was slightly stunned by her words. Straight away he shook his head and rejected her. This is your company's gathering. It would be inappropriate for me to go. Wang Xian, can you come over? I've only been here for 2 days and I'm not very familiar with the rest of the colleagues. Besides, I won't be working here for too long. If you are here, I can have someone to talk to. The venue is at the first-grade restaurant near our school. Guan Shuqing dragged her last word out as she seemed to be pleading with him. Wang Xian was hesitant, but he finally nodded his head. Fine. Thank you. When I get my pay, I'll give you a treat. Upon hearing his consent, Guan Shuqing was so happy that she laughed. Still my treat. Wang Xian smiled. They arranged a time and hung up the phone. At most, I'll foot the bill since it's her colleagues' gathering. Wang Xian put his phone back in his pocket and shrugged. Since he had over $20 million on his card now, he was full of confidence. Buzz. After he stored his lobsters and the swimming crabs and changed his clothes, his phone buzzed again. Lan Qingyue? Wang Xian opened his WeChat and was shocked to see her message. Lang Qingyue asked me out for dinner. Looks like I'm quite popular after all. He touched his face as he was feeling himself. However, he turned her down with a reply, I'm having dinner with my friend tonight. Sorry, next time then. At the same time, Lan Qingyue was a little uptight as she sat on the sofa in the luxurious villa. This was the first time she asked a guy out for dinner. As she recalled the figure who hugged her, she was looking forward to it while feeling nervous. Hence, when the notification sound rang, she quickly checked on it. Rejected. He actually rejected me. Lan Qingyue was dazed as she looked at the message. She felt something special within her. She did not expect she would get rejected the first time she asked a guy out for dinner. Chapter 36, Buying First-Grade Restaurant. Chapter 36, Buying First-Grade Restaurant. BZZ. Wang Xian rode his heavy-duty motorcycle towards first-grade restaurant. What he didn't know was that his casual rejection previously had a huge impact on a cold and noble lady. Welcome. When he entered first-grade restaurant, the 2 greeters at the entrance spoke passionately. Table 4, a waitress walked over and asked. I'm waiting for a friend, Wang Xian said to the waitress. In that case, please wait here at the moment. I'll get you some tea. The waitress was well trained and pointed to the sofa at the waiting area, after which she went to get a cup of water. Wang Xian nodded his head and sat to the side. He took out his mobile phone and started playing while waiting for Guan Shuqing to arrive. Clap, 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 clap. Where's Director Li? At this moment, a group of people appeared at the entrance. A young man asked his question with a smile and a cigarette in his mouth. You guys are? Do you have an appointment with Director Li? The greeters at the entrance looked curiously at the group of 4 men who walked over. Director Li was the one who asked us over. Where is he? The young man replied. He scrutinized the 2 greeters and commented flirtatiously, pretty beautiful. The 2 greeters frowned. Director Zhou, your guys are here. The office is a little small, shall we sit here? At this moment, the slightly plump Director Li walked out from a small room beside the cashier. There was a middle-aged man following beside him. Upon hearing Director Li's voice, the edge of Wang Xian's mouth arched up. He turned his attention over. At this moment, Director Li was no longer looking as rosy as he had been in the morning. In fact, he looked a little pale and seemed to be fatigued. The middle-aged man beside him wasn't looking pleased either. Oh, Director Li, you aren't looking too well. Hee. The young man looked at Director Li and it was clear that he was mocking him. I caught the flu in the morning and am not feeling too well. Director Li walked over with a straight face and invited him into the restaurant. Hee. The young man smiled. Together with the 3 other men who came with him, They headed directly to the sofa in the waiting area. Sitting upright, he looked at Director Lee and said, "I'm really surprised to have received Director Lee's call. Just a month ago, I invited you over for a sumptuous banquet and requested to acquire your restaurant. However, you rejected it. What's the matter now? Did you change your mind?" "Yeah, I've changed my mind. I have a better business plan to execute and therefore am preparing to sell first-grade restaurant." Director Lee sat at the side, lifted the teacup served by the waiter and squeezed out a faint smile. "Oh, is it? In that case, how much is Director Lee looking to sell it to me for?" The edge of the young man's mouth arched upwards. He leaned back on the sofa and seemed to be seeing this as a joke. "Let's go with Director Zhou's previous offer, $23 million. Director Lee looked at him and said, "What, $23 million? The young man pretended to be shocked. "Director Lee, the $23 million offer was when I came to you and offered to buy. Now that you have come to me to sell, how could it still be $23 million? Moreover," the young man paused and looked coldly at Director Lee, "I wanted to buy this place but Director Lee wasn't willing to sell in the past. I just purchased a restaurant just a stone's throw away from here and am renovating it. I am still intending to compete with you directly in the future." Upon hearing the young man, Director Lee's expression turned ghastly. He replied resolutely, "My first-grade restaurant has been around for 5 to 6 years and its reputation has already spread throughout Rivertown. Even if you would like to compete with me directly, we will not be afraid. As long as my first-grade restaurant is still around, your restaurant would also be greatly and negatively affected." "Director Lee, what you are saying is that I shouldn't open the restaurant that I have already spent over $10 million on, and should spend more money to purchase yours?" The young man looked at him with contempt. "It's over $10 million because you bought the building with it. I believe that simply losing some renovation costs to guarantee your business would be a great deal." Director Lee replied with a frown. "Hee." The young man laughed again. He stared at Director Lee and replied, "Director Lee, since I have decided to do it, I'm not afraid of your first-grade restaurant. It's still uncertain who will win in the end, but I can guarantee that your losses will be severe. Now that you would like to sell first-grade restaurant, great. $13 million. If you would like to sell, I'll buy. If you aren't willing, we shall see how it goes." $13 million? Impossible. Just the building alone is worth close to $10 million. To ask me to sell my restaurant to you for $3 million? When Director Lee heard his reply, he raised his voice and his face turned dark. "At most $15 million. If you want to sell, then sell. If you will not, you can just sell to others." The young man sat there confidently. With Longxian Restaurant's publicity and strength currently, this would be the most you could get from any other buyer. Upon hearing what he said, Director Lee had an embarrassed look. Just as the young man had said, the profit of his restaurant each year was only $4 to $5 million over the last few years. The asking price of over $20 million wasn't high at all. However, there was a strong competitor coming up along this street. The young master of Rivertown Distant Sea Fishing Group would be entering this business. His family business was in distant water fishing and had ample resources. He would also be able to basically obtain all kinds of seafood. Seeing how this young man in front of him was willing to spend and was daring, it was hard for him to tell who would emerge victorious in their future competition. It would be impossible for him to sell his restaurant for over $20 million. In fact, it was still uncertain if he could even sell it for $17 to $18 million. Despite his considerations, he knew he would be filled with indignance if he had to sell to him for $15 million. Director Lee's expression was changing constantly. He was considering all his options, and this incident today was a lethal blow to him. All the fish in his entire fish farm had disappeared without a reason. Fish that were worth several tens of millions had just vanished into the air. At this moment he had to return the bank loan as soon as possible. Otherwise, his mortgaged home might be taken over by the bank. The only option he had was to sell first-grade restaurant. He was out of other options. The young man sat there confidently and said to Director Lee, "I can give you cash. As long as you are willing to sell, $15 million will be transferred to your account immediately. You should know that there aren't many people who can come out with so much cash at one time to invest at this moment. Director Lee, it's better if you sell first-grade restaurant. Those who are slightly capable would know that buying first-grade restaurant at the moment might not be profitable. In fact, my brother might even lose from this investment. There aren't many people who can bear this." The 18 to 19 years old juvenile, who was sitting beside the young man, remarked excitedly. He lifted one of his legs and rested it on the other leg in a cocky manner. Looking at Wang Xian, who had been listening to their conversation, he laughed. Don't you agree with me, pal? Will you buy this place if you have $15 million? The juvenile was exhilarated. He would be in his freshman year when the school reopened and was an incoming student to the University of Rivertown. With his brother's restaurant right here and it being the most luxurious in the vicinity, it would be a fantastic experience for him when he brought his classmates over to show off to them. Just thinking about it made him a little excited. I will buy. The three words that sounded suddenly from the side shocked the juvenile. He saw Wang Xian had a serious look to him and was instantly stunned. Following which, he burst into laughter. Ha, my friend? You will buy? Can you even afford it? All you could do is to fantasize about it. Wake up. Director Li, do consider the offer price of $16 million. Wang Xian looked nonchalantly at the juvenile and took out a platinum card from the Agricultural Bank of China. One had to have over $5 million deposited in order to get such a card. Although this card might not have $16 million on it, it was still a symbol of one's strength. Capitalism. Chapter 37, I'm the Boss, 1. Chapter 37, I'm the Boss, 1. When the juvenile saw Wang Xian take out a bank card, he was stunned as his eyes were filled with disbelief. All the people around, including Director Li, looked at Wang Xian with astonishment. The money on the card is sufficient to fork over $16 million. I'll buy first-grade restaurant. What do you think, Director Li? Wang Xian asked Director Li with a smiling face. When they were talking just now, Wang Xian's attention was drawn when he overheard Director Li was going to sell away the first-grade restaurant. At present, he had some money obtained through special ways, but he had no stable source of income. If he bought the first-grade restaurant, he could manage the restaurant in the future. Moreover, he had a great advantage of catching his own seafood if he took over the restaurant. Perhaps it might be a waste of time for him to catch his own, but he could get his subordinates from the Dragon Palace to do it. Till then, his procurement of seafood would be at zero cost. The restaurant just had to pay off the staff wages and the necessary expenses. The business would not lose out. It's 100% profitable. Wang Xian wanted to wait until they left before he discussed with Director Li, who knew the juvenile beside him would lend him a helping hand. What a kind person he was. $16 million? Are you really going to take over? The juvenile pointed at Wang Xian in disbelief and asked with a shaky voice. The boy before him was just as young as him. Yet, he could actually fork over $16 million to buy the restaurant. How could this be possible? Wang Xian looked at the juvenile before he fixed his gaze on Director Li. You? Director Li saw Wang Xian and recognized him. With a mixed expression, he asked, Are you really buying the restaurant? Of course, I will not joke around when it concerns millions of dollars. $16 million? Are you selling or not? If you are selling, we can sign the contract and make the payment tomorrow. Wang Xian nodded with a solemn face. Director Li had a change in his expression before he cast his gaze to the young man at the side. At this time, the young man fixed his gaze on Wang Xian. Young chap, are you sure you want to buy the first-grade restaurant? Think it over again. Depends on the price. If it's too expensive, I'll not buy it. I'm offering $16 million. Aren't you going to counteroffer? Wang Xian smiled at the young man. Bang. Suddenly, the young man banged his hand on the table. Think again. If you are buying over the restaurant, be prepared to challenge Longshan Restaurant. When the time comes, don't lose your pants and go bankrupt. Sensing the threat from him, Wang Xian picked up the teacup slowly from the table and said indifferently, I love challenges. If you want to fight it out, I'm all in for it. But who will lose his pants? It'll not be me. Fine. The young man stood up straight away. I can do without the first-grade restaurant. Since you want to have a game, let's do it. Lad, you're still an amateur. If I take over here, Wang Xian stood up slowly, you will not be my match. A tit for tat. He displayed the shining edge of a divine dragon against his opponents and gave off an invisible imposing demeanor. The young man felt embarrassed by the faint oppression. Fine. You're ridiculous. We'll wait and see. The young man glared at him with a ferocious look in his eyes. Anytime. Wang Xian looked at the young man with a smile on his face. I'll make sure you lose big time. The young man left after he made those harsh remarks as he stared at Director Li coldly. You're doomed, said the juvenile as he jumped up and pointed at Wang Xian with an angry face after he saw his elder brother had left. Wang Xian threw him a nonchalant look and ignored him before he turned to Director Li. People like the juvenile were not qualified to speak to him, except for his brother. Young lad, are you really buying the first-grade restaurant with $16 million? Director Li did not look at those young people who left. Instead, he questioned Wang Xian again. 100% positive. Wang Xian nodded. Umph. Upon seeing Wang Xian ignoring him, the juvenile walked out, feeling embarrassed. Brother, that fellow was extremely haughty just now. We cannot let him off just like this. The juvenile caught up with the young man with an infuriated look on his face after he walked out of the first-grade restaurant. Okay, I got it. The young man brushed him off without any patience. If his younger brother had not provoked that guy, he would not have expressed his interest in buying the first-grade restaurant. If he could take over the restaurant at $15 million, it would be the best choice for him. There was no risk and it was a profitable business. Now he would have to fight it out. Anyway, Longshan Restaurant has completed the renovation. We can open for business soon. Till then. The young man darkened his expression as he thought of that fellow's haughty look just now. Just wait and see. I'll let you have a taste of regret for offending me. We'll discuss the transfer of ownership at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Back at the first-grade restaurant, Director Li was smiling at Wang Xian. He was already content to sell the restaurant at $16 million. Sure, 9 tomorrow. Wang Xian nodded. I'll get the things prepared first. Let's have dinner together. Director Li said as he stood up. No, it's fine. I'm meeting my friends. Wang Xian shook his head with a smile. Apart from this business deal, he had nothing to chat with Director Li about. Sure, enjoy your dinner. This place will be yours tomorrow. As soon as Director Li finished his words, he looked at his restaurant and sighed as he was unsure if he could make a comeback in the future after selling the restaurant. He walked into the office at the side with low spirits. He would probably never find out that the person who landed him into his current plight was right in front of him. Everything was to blame on his arrogance. Bus. Wang Xian's phone rang after waiting in the waiting area for 10 minutes or so. Hello? I'm here in the waiting area. Wang Xian received the call and told Guan Shuqing. Wang Xian. As his voice trailed off, he heard Guan Shuqing's voice at the door. She waved at him and walked towards him. Wang Xian gleamed and walked forward to greet her before he saw a group of people behind her. The one leading the group of youngsters was a 28 or 29 years old young man who was wearing a trendy summer clothes series from Armani. He was 1.8 meters tall and rather good-looking. When Wang Xian was looking at him, the young man was observing him too. A guy wearing Versace on him. His family should be quite well-to-do. Director Zhou narrowed his eyes and observed Wang Xian from head to toe. He raised his eyebrows, but he was not bothered by him at all. In his opinion, Wang Xian was still inexperienced. Shuqing, is this your friend? Hello, I'm Zhou Yuanhao. Zhou Yuanhao walked over and extended his hand to introduce himself with a face full of smiles. Wang Xian looked at him inquisitively. Hello, I'm Wang Xian. Chapter 38, I'm the boss too. Chapter 38, I'm the boss too. Hey young lad. Not bad, not bad. Zhou Yuanhao looked at Wang Xian, extended his hand towards his shoulders and wanted to pat on them. Hee hee. Wang Xian had his eyes fixed on this young man as he avoided his palm fluently. He had the feeling that this dude was up to something. Zhou Yuanhao's arm stiffened, following which he smiled and said, Let's go. I've made a reservation and we can go straight to the private lounge. Misters, this way please. As Zhou Yuanhao spoke, the waitress by the side led the way for him. First-grade house could be divided into 2 stories. The lower level was the main hall while the upper story was where the private lounges were at. First-grade restaurant is a rather famous restaurant in Rivertown. You can get to taste all types of seafood, abalone, shark fin and sea cucumber. Sometimes there is also precious seafood such as Atlantic bluefin marlin sashimi. Zhou Yuanhao was walking at the front of the pack as he explained to the group with a face full of smiles. He looked to Guan Shuqing and Wang Xian who was beside her and said, Shuqing, your school is around this area. I'm guessing you know about this restaurant. Of course I know about it. This restaurant is known to be expensive. Guan Shuqing smiled and replied. Hee, I came here once previously when a friend of mine was giving me a treat. I have to say that the food here is really expensive. A meal in a private lounge will cost at least 7,000 to 8,000. This is the level of a 5-star hotel. Since Director Zhou is paying today, we are in for a treat. First-grade restaurant is known for its seafood. Although they are delicious, their prices are too expensive. I heard about it previously, but this is still the first time I've come here. I have to thank Director Zhou for your generosity. The two young commented with intentions to flatter Director Zhou. As long as everyone works hard and we do well, such a gathering will be common in the future. Zhou Yuanhao said with magnanimity, although first-grade restaurant is expensive, the food they serve is really delicious. I have always liked their food and often patronize this restaurant. In that case, we've got to stick close to Director Zhou in the future. There aren't many bosses who are as generous as Director Zhou. A girl smiled and said to Director Zhou. Naturally, I wouldn't treat you guys badly. The edge of Zhou Yuanhao's mouth arched up. Guan Shuqing and Wang Xian followed behind and didn't comment as the group arrived at a private lounge. Shuqing, you can sit beside me. Zhou Yuanhao sat at the seat of the host as he spoke to Guan Shuqing, who was just beside him. Guan Shuqing was taken aback slightly before nodding her head and sitting down. She looked to Wang Xian and said, Wang Xian, why don't you sit beside me? All right. Wang Xian nodded his head. The few young men and women took a glance at Zhou Yuanhao and Guan Shuqing before sinking into deep thought. You guys take a look at the menu and see what would you like to have. Come. Just order as you wish. Zhou Yuanhao passed the menu to Guan Shuqing and asked, take a look and see if there's anything you would like. You can just order it directly. It's okay, Director Zhou. I'm not a picky eater and am fine with anything. Guan Shuqing waved her hand and handed the menu back to him. All right. In that case, let me order a few dishes. This sea cucumber porridge with lotus seed is good for the complexion. Let's get a bowl for Shuqing and the ladies here. Zhou Yuanhao looked and spoke to Guan Shuqing and the few other ladies. Our Director Zhou is such a gentleman. One of the ladies laughed and said. That's true. After all, Director Zhou attended a famous university in the UK for 3 years. He's definitely the role model of a gentleman, a young man commented as he tried to get on the good books of Director Zhou subtly. Haha. Zhou Yuanhao smiled. All right, let's get a bottle of champagne and white wine to go along with the seafood. All right, mister, please wait a moment. The waitress by the side nodded her head, collected the menus and walked out of the lounge. Shuqing, do you have the intention to come to our company to work after you graduate from school? Zhou Yuanhao asked as he poured Guan Shuqing a cup of tea after filling his own cup. Director Zhou, I can do it myself. Guan Shuqing tried to take the teapot and pour for herself in a hurry. I still have 2 years until my graduation. It's all right. You can come over to the company during the weekends or when you have no classes. I wouldn't scrimp on your salary. Our company business is growing larger and larger and we still need some talents, Zhou Yuanhao remarked. Guan Shuqing was a little tempted. Now that her father had declared bankruptcy, her family conditions weren't too great. Currently, she had to settle her own living expenses. I think it's fine. Shuqing, this is a good idea. After all, the curriculum of university isn't that tight. You definitely could gain some working experience during your free time. This is a good thing. Yeah, just take a look at how well Director Zhou is treating us. It's hard to get a good boss like him. You might not be able to get such a good job even after you graduated. The two young men by the side tried to convince Guan Shuqing. This would work too. Guan Shuqing took a look at Wang Xian who was beside her and nodded her head. When Zhou Yuanhao heard her reply, a joyous feeling surged. Haha, let's welcome Shuqing for joining us officially. As they were chatting, the dishes were being served one by one. Zhou Yuanhao kept trying to chat with Guan Shuqing. As for Wang Xian, he just sat there alone as he ate the food. Shuqing, do you have a boyfriend? Suddenly Zhou Yuanhao asked Guan Shuqing. This question shocked Guan Shuqing. Her eyes were wavering as she turned her head over and looked at Wang Xian. Zhou Yuanhao saw her action and frowned. His vision fell on Wang Xian as he tried to change the topic. Oh, Shuqing, you haven't introduced us to this friend of yours. This is my classmate, Wang Xian, Guan Shuqing replied immediately. Hello, everyone, I'm Wang Xian. Wang Xian remarked. Don't just eat, let's have a chat. Zhou Yuanhao looked at him and squeezed out a faint smile. Brother Wang Xian, your family condition should be pretty good. What is your family like? Family? When Wang Xian heard him, he laughed. I only have a sister as kin. Huh. Zhou Yuanhao was slightly stunned and shocked. A smile appeared as he continued, I'm sorry to ask about something that I shouldn't have. However, please allow me to say this. Brother Wang Xian, life isn't easy. You should be making plans for life after graduation. Similar to Shu Qing, you are from the University of Rivertown. It's clear that you are a capable man. Why don't you come and work for my company? If you work for me, it would definitely be better when you try to look for a job after graduation. That's right. We will be working for Director Zhou in the future and he would be our leader. Haha. A young man laughed and said. It's all right. Wang Xian shook his head. It's better to just enjoy my university life. Oh, Xiao Wang, that's not a good mentality to have. You should be working hard starting from university. When you say you want to enjoy your university life, what are you actually thinking of? I'm guessing it's not playing games and is about finding a beautiful girlfriend. However, you need to be rich to find a beautiful girlfriend. Buying a bag for your girlfriend would set you back several tens of thousands. Similarly, buying clothes, jewelry and gifts would also be in the range of several tens of thousands. As a young man, one should have goals. This would then give you motivation. If you can't rely on your family, you can only then rely on yourself. For example, if you want to get a girlfriend as beautiful as Shu Qing, you can't be just giving her a bag that costs a few hundred. Moreover, you can't even get one at a few $100s nowadays. It can't be that you are thinking of bringing her to the canteen for meals all the time. All of these would cost money. If I had a girlfriend as beautiful as Shu Qing, branded bags and clothes are a necessity. As for other gifts or even a house or car, these are needed in the future. The company my family owns has just started. Despite that, our annual profits are in the range of $5 to $6 million. Even so, I feel that my conditions in Rivertown are still below average. Therefore, a young man like you should be looking to start working hard from a young age. Xiao Wang, you can consider working for me in the future. You can still expect to easily earn $3,000 a month in a part-time role. Director Zhou lit a cigarette and smiled. In his words, he had lifted himself up subtly and bashed Wang Xian. Work part-time for $3,000 a month? Chapter 39, I'm the Boss 3. Chapter 39, I'm the Boss 3. $3,000 a month. Wang Xian wanted to laugh when he saw Director Zhou pretending to be a kind senior, offering advice to a junior. On seeing the yearning in Director Zhou's eyes, Wang Xian finally understood his intentions. Director Zhou wanted to woo Guan Shuqing and regarded him as a potential rival. He must step on his rival when he met one. But he could not do it directly to avoid leaving a negative impression with Guan Shuqing. Hence, he could only give a tall hat to himself and lower the status of Wang Xian indirectly. Be a follower of his? Become his employee? Wang Xian smiled and shook his head gently. Director Zhou, the students in our school are not that materialistic. We can get a bag at a few $100s and date at the school canteen. Her? Upon hearing Wang Xian's words, Director Zhou had a change in his expression. He did not expect Wang Xian to be sarcastic about him being materialistic. Director Zhou's eyes glimmered with displeasure. Xiao Wang, you can't put it that way. Campus love is pure and innocent, but you'll leave school and enter society after all. Director Zhou said all this for your own good. Don't take his words for granted. A young man said and frowned at Wang Xian when he saw the expression on Director Zhou's face. That's right. What can you do when you don't have any money? Girls are all looking for rich husbands who dote on them and love them. Too bad I'm married. Otherwise, I'd woo Director Zhou instead. A girl also glanced at Wang Xian. Xiao Wang, you're still young. They had been working in the society for many years, and they could sense something from their boss's expressions. They could tell that Director Zhou wanted to shame him. Naturally, they needed to give him a hand. A hint of sarcasm flashed in Wang Xian's eyes when he heard their remarks. We're still schooling and we don't have many troubling matters. We just need to pursue what we want and that will do. Guan Shuqing spoke with a smile when she felt something was amiss with the atmosphere. Shuqing, you are still young. Listen to me. I'll nag at you in the future, said a girl to Guan Shuqing. She was pleased to see the kindness in Director Zhou's eyes as soon as she finished her sentence. Waitress. At this time, Director Zhou got an idea and called for the waitress at the door. Sir, how may I help you? Asked the waitress who walked over. Do you still have that limited caviar? Asked Director Zhou to the waitress. I'll need to check with the kitchen, the waitress answered with a smile. Okay, please check for me. Director Zhou nodded unconcernedly. Subsequently, he told everyone, truffle, foie gras and caviar are the three most renowned overseas dishes. Caviar, in particular, is extremely precious. The caviar sold in first-grade restaurant is limited edition and costs $4,000 per portion. Just enough for 1 or 2 people to share. The taste is superb. I'll see how many portions are available. We can order more, subject to availability. Director Zhou, you're way too generous. The caviar is just too expensive. That's right, Director Zhou. These dishes are enough. Why don't you order for Xuqing? You don't have to waste your money on us, said several sensible youngsters. We will see how many portions are available. Director Zhou was satisfied with them after hearing them. I'm sorry, sir, but our caviar is all out today. Soon the waitress walked over and apologized. Her? Sold out? Oh, is Manager Huang around? Asked Director Zhou with a frown. Yes, sir, do you have any requests? Asked the waitress quickly. Nothing, I'll give him a call. Director Zhou gestured at the waitress and fished for his phone. Director Zhou, do you know the manager from the first-grade restaurant? Asked a young man with surprise. We met each other over a couple of meals, Director Zhou said without any emotion, but his eyes glimmered with arrogance. I still know some people from during the few years after returning from overseas. Director Zhou, you really befriend many people from all walks of life. That would give you the convenience to do anything. A young man at the side was licking his boots. Network is essential in society today, said Director Zhou smilingly as the phone on the opposite side rang. Hello, Director Zhou, how are you? A middle-aged man's voice was heard on the phone. Manager Huang, are you busy? Asked Director Zhou with a smile. Not really, is there anything I can help you with, Director Zhou? How was your dinner today? I'm quite pleased with it. I'm calling you with regards to this too. Manager Huang, do you think you can get some caviar for us? Your staff said it is out of stock, but I have a craving for it. Do you think you can get some for me to host my guests? Sure, the kitchen should have set some aside. There should be some left. Great, sorry to trouble you, Manager Huang. Director Zhou deepened his smile as he hung up after making a few courtesy remarks. Well, the first-grade restaurant will set aside some every day just in case. There are some left. Director Zhou chuckled. He cast his gaze at Guan Xuqing. Give it a try later, Xuqing. The taste is great. Director Zhou, thank you for your treat. It must be expensive for this meal, Guan Xuqing said with a smile. It didn't cost that much. Perhaps less than $10,000. Director Zhou shook his head. So long as you enjoy the meal today. By the way, where did you and your friend plan to have your dinner at just now? We were planning to cook outdoors at school, Guan Xuqing said with a smile. Outdoor cooking? Director Zhou paused and raised his eyebrows. Such a hot day and you're going for outdoor cooking? There are many mosquitoes outside. Xiao Wang, you're not being understanding. Besides, it is not good for their skin if girls are smoked by the barbecue. If you're treating a girl to dinner, you must at least go for a decent restaurant. What kind of restaurant? Wang Xian noticed that Director Zhou was looking back at him, so he took a sip of water and asked impassively. The first-grade restaurant may be expensive for you since you are a student, but you should at least go to a franchise restaurant for a meal that is around $200 to $300. Outdoor cooking is inappropriate. Director Zhou looked at Guan Xuqing as he spoke. Besides, outdoor cooking is not safe. Xuqing, you better not go. Haha. Upon hearing his remarks, Wang Xian sneered at him. Director Zhou showed displeasure in his eyes when he heard the scornful laughter. Director Zhou, let's dig in. It's getting late. Seeing that Wang Xian was unhappy, Guan Xuqing quickly tugged at his arm under the table. While doing so, her palm was caught in his palm nicely. A current seemed to run in her body and she withdrew it immediately. Wang Xian peered at Guan Xuqing and chuckled. He did not persist further and laughed. Have some food. The seafood in the first-grade restaurant is the best. Oh, then have more food. You might not have any chance for it in the future, Director Zhou jeered. Yes, thanks to Director Zhou for the treat today. Wang Xian drew his lips slightly and nodded. He picked up his chopsticks and continued with his food. Guan Shuqing was relieved when he saw Wang Xian enjoying his food. She hesitated and picked a piece of crab claw. With a smile she said, "Try this. This is delicious." "Sure." Wang Xian looked at her and nodded. "Really? I'm afraid you might not have the chance to try it again after this," a young man muttered when he saw Wang Xian's look. The voice was soft but it was audible. However, Wang Xian was not bothered at all. He did not want to quibble with him since they were all Guan Shuqing's colleagues. At the same time, Manager Huang hung up Director Li's phone call and spoke to Director Li, who was clearing up his stuff at the side. "By the way," Director Li heard him and said, "turn that customer down. After that, go to the kitchen, get the additional caviar and follow me to that private room. We're delivering to someone else." "Her? Director Li, who are you giving it to?" Manager Huang was slightly stunned as he asked in surprise. "Your future boss." Director Li looked at him and said, "The first-grade restaurant will belong to this person from tomorrow onwards. You should get to know him first today." "My future boss?" Manager Huang was surprised. He knew that Director Li had a deal with this person for taking over the first-grade restaurant, but he did not expect that his future boss would be having dinner here today. "Okay, Director Li, I'll explain it to the customer." Manager Huang quickly nodded and walked to the kitchen. He would be asking the chef to prepare it with utmost effort. After all, this was prepared for their future boss. Chapter 40, Taking Over the First-Grade Restaurant, 1. Chapter 40, Taking Over the First-Grade Restaurant, 1. The atmosphere was a little heavy within the private lounge of the first-grade restaurant. Guan Shuqing felt a little awkward while sitting there and eating. At this point, she could already sense the animosity Director Zhou and the surrounding colleagues had towards Wang Xian. He could also sense that Director Zhou had other thoughts about her. This made her unable to help feeling remorseful for not rejecting the invitation to today's gathering. Bzz. At this moment, Director Zhou's phone rang. He took out his phone and looked at it. "It's a phone call from the manager here. It should be about sending the food over." He smiled and accepted the call after explaining. "What? No more? Not a single bit is left?" When Director Zhou received the call, he asked in shock. "I'm really sorry, Director Zhou. We don't have any caviar left in first-grade seafood restaurant as they have been ordered by some distinguished customer," Manager Huang explained over the phone. "I will definitely reserve a serving for Director Zhou for your next visit." "Forget it then. If it's sold out, so be it." Director Zhou shook his head slightly and hung up the phone. "We probably won't get the chance this time. Manager Huang said that all the caviar has sold out." He shrugged his shoulders and said to Guan Shuqing, "This time we didn't get it, next time I'll bring you along to get some." Guan Shuqing smiled and didn't reply as she didn't know how to. Bzz. At this moment, Wang Xian's phone also rang. He took out his phone and saw a phone call from Director Li. He accepted it immediately. "Brother Wang Xian, which private lounge number are you in?" 203. "Is there anything Director Li has for me?" "Oh, nothing. I'll just come and disturb you for a moment." Just as Director Li finished his sentence, someone knocked on the door of the private lounge. Following which, the waitress opened the door. "Sorry for the interruption, Brother Wang Xian. I'm here to serve you a specialty delicacy of our restaurant." Director Li stood at the entrance of the door as he smiled and spoke to Wang Xian. Behind him was Manager Huang with the plates in his hand. As they walked in, Manager Huang looked towards Wang Xian and put on a radiant smile. "Director Wang, this is the specialty caviar of our restaurant. There are 5 servings in the kitchen and I have brought all of them here for you and your guests. Director Wang, you can call me Xiao Huang. I'm the manager of first-grade seafood restaurant currently." The middle-aged Manager Huang kept a very low profile. He carried the plates and placed the servings of caviar on the table in front of Wang Xian. Wang Xian was slightly shocked but quickly smiled and nodded his head. He looked at Director Li and said, "Thank you for your kind intentions, Director Li. Please enjoy yourself, Brother Wang Xian. I shall not be interrupting you any further." Director Li smiled at him. "Thank you." Wang Xian nodded his head. "Director Wang, please enjoy yourself. Feel free to ask for me if there's anything." Manager Huang bowed down. From the very beginning to the end, he didn't look at others and had his attention fixed on Wang Xian. Even as he left, he lowered his stance before turning around and walking out of the room. Director Zhou was dumbfounded and his eyes were opened widely. Just as he was about to say something, he noted that Manager Huang had not even looked over at all during the whole process. Suddenly he felt a little embarrassed. As for the other young men and women, they were also shocked by what they had just seen. What's the situation? Who were those two people previously? That guy who served the caviar said that he is the manager of this place and Wang Xian could just call him Xiao Huang? Is he the same Manager Huang that Director Zhou had mentioned? They quickly turned their heads over and looked at Wang Xian. They saw 5 bowls of caviar beside him with each serving costing $4,000 and a total of $20,000. Moreover, this was something that even money might not be able to get. Even their Director Zhou had failed to order any despite giving Manager Huang a call. Yet, the manager sent over 5 bowls with profound reverence. How can this be possible? Isn't he just a student? Guan Shuqing, who was just beside Wang Xian, also looked at him with astonishment. She noticed that she had more and more things that she couldn't understand about him. He was a poor student that had to work part-time frequently to earn his school fees and living expenses in the past. Currently, he rode a heavy-duty motorcycle and the clothes he wore weren't cheap either. However, this wasn't the most surprising thing to her. What really shocked her was the manager's attitude previously and the free food that was worth $20,000. Wang Xian. You? Guan Shuqing looked at Wang Xian and had a huge basket of questions to ask him. However, she did not know where to start asking. Let's eat. Let's see how the limited caviar of first-grade seafood restaurant will taste. Wang Xian smiled and passed over a bowl to her. Wang Xian. Why would the manager of this place bring these over? Guan Shuqing looked at the caviar Wang Xian placed in front of her and asked blankly. I bought this place. Wang Xian looked at her and continued, Director Li, who came in previously, is the previous owner of first-grade seafood restaurant. We have reached a preliminary agreement and I'll be the boss of first-grade seafood restaurant at this time tomorrow. Therefore, Wang Xian smiled. As for Guan Shuqing, she was staring at Wang Xian with her eyes opened widely and filled with surprise. First-grade seafood restaurant? You bought it? She asked again in disbelief. Yeah. Wang Xian smiled and nodded his head. If you have something you would like to eat in the future, you can look for me. I'll just treat you to it. Guan Shuqing was a little dumbfounded. How can this be possible? At this point, a young man sitting by the side couldn't contain his surprise and showed his disbelief. This student sitting right here bought first-grade seafood restaurant? This is first-grade seafood restaurant. How much will he need? $10 million or $20 million? This is first-grade seafood restaurant. How can anyone buy this place with just $10 million? The other young men and women around also showed their disbelief. They recalled what they had said to him previously, I'm afraid you might not have the chance to try it again after this. Thinking back now, they felt a surge of heat over their face. This was a tight slap to their faces. Not only could he try it again, he even bought the whole restaurant. Their attention turned slowly to Director Zhou as they realized that Director Zhou's expression was even more dramatic. His face was twitching constantly and his body was trembling slightly as he looked to Wang Xian. Playing a sucker and acting poor? What an obnoxious person. Director Zhou stared at Wang Xian and had various phrases surfacing in his mind. He gritted his teeth tightly. To be able to buy first-grade seafood restaurant, he definitely had several dozens of millions in assets. As for his family, they only had $50 to $60 million in assets. Moreover, these were all under his father. Wang Xian glanced faintly at Director Zhou before saying directly to Guan Shuqing, I'll be taking over this place tomorrow. I wouldn't make changes to the manpower of this place, but I might need a reliable person to manage the accounts of this place. I couldn't possibly be cooping myself up in this place. Will you come and help me out? When Guan Shuqing heard his words, her eyes flickered. She glanced at Director Zhou beside her and remarked, but I've already. However, when she looked at Wang Xian once again, she still nodded her head in hesitation. All right, since you have asked, how could I reject your invitation? Great. With you helping me out, I'll be saving myself a lot of trouble. Wang Xian smiled. As for Director Zhou, who was just beside her, his eyebrows twitched violently and he clenched his fist tightly upon seeing Guan Shuqing being poached away right in front of him. However, he couldn't just flare up. This young man in front of him was able to buy first-grade seafood restaurant directly. He might have a strong backing. Damn his answer of having only a sister. Who is he trying to fool? At the same time, it's to show deference to someone more senior or with more authority. Chapter 41, Taking Over the First Grade Restaurant 2. Chapter 41, Taking Over the First Grade Restaurant 2. I guess you really made Director Zhou enraged tonight. You saw it too. He was the one who started it. If it weren't for you, I would have asked them to get lost. The last thing you said was simply, I'm speechless. Wang Xian and Guan Shuqing walked out from the first grade restaurant exchanging words happily on the old street. The gathering was not over yet. But when Wang Xian handed the leftover caviar to Director Zhou just now, he smiled and said, Director Zhou, this is the caviar that you asked for. Try it. Welcome to my restaurant in the future. Oh, this restaurant is not mine yet. So you've still got to pay for tonight's dinner. After he finished his sentence, Wang Xian called Guan Shuqing out. At that time, Director Zhou's face was looking extremely sulky. I need to apologize to you for offending your superior. Looks like you won't be getting your 2-day wages. I'll compensate you for that. Wang Xian said with a smile. Of course, you have to compensate me. Guan Shuqing chuckled and looked over her shoulder at Wang Xian as she felt her heart warming. This was the first guy who made her happy, comfortable, and heartwarming. The feeling was not immense, but she was addicted to it. Hop on. Wang Xian rode his Harley motorcycle over and called out to Guan Shuqing. Okay. Guan Shuqing felt her heart thumping as she looked at him on the bike. She got on the bike. With some hesitation, she held out her arms and wrapped them around Wang Xian. Sensing a warm body closing up on him, Wang Xian's body stiffened up. Subsequently, he revealed a smiling face. Sit tight, we're leaving. He stepped on the accelerator and headed back to school. Soon they arrived back at the female dormitory. See you tomorrow. I'll pick you up over here. Wang Xian waved to Guan Shuqing. Okay. Guan Shuqing nodded and waved back to him. Happily, she skipped her way back to her room. Wang Xian chuckled and drove back to the male dormitory. During that night, Wang Xian did not do any cultivating. Instead, he slept soundly. When he woke up the next day, it was past 8 a.m. Wang Xian got up quickly and freshened up. When he picked up his phone, he saw an unread message. Lan Qingyue again? Wang Xian was taken by surprise when he saw the WeChat message. It was Lan Qingyue again. The same thing, she wanted to buy him dinner in appreciation for the previous incident. The message was sent out 5 minutes ago. I'm sorry, Chairman Lan. I've been busy lately and I really don't have time. Wang Xian declined politely. Today he was going to take over the first grade restaurant. In the next few days he would be too busy for anything. He needed to handle the internal issues of first grade restaurant and its management issues. The Longxin restaurant is going to open soon beside the restaurant, and it was an outright act to steal business from him. After hearing the conversation between Director Li and that young man yesterday, Wang Xian knew that the other party had some capacity. Hence, he needed to prepare himself for it. After Wang Xian sent out the message, he packed up and brought the lobsters and swimming crabs downstairs. Within a room in a villa, the entire place was loaded with pink color. All the men in the river town would not have imagined that the renowned ice queen, Chairman Lan Qingyue, would paint her room with such a girly color. Someone once said that every aloof girl fantasizes about fairy tales. Lan Qingyue lay with her stomach on the bed with a big-sized pink teddy bear beside her. Ding. When her phone rang, she quickly opened her WeChat. Rejected. He rejected me again. Lan Qingyue was a little lost. Yesterday she guessed that he might really have something going on, and that was why he turned her down. Hence, she asked him again early in the morning, but little did she expect that she was being rejected again. On top of that, he replied that he would be busy lately. Does he dislike me so he doesn't want to see me? Or is he really that busy? Lan Qingyue frowned and got up from the bed immediately to stare at herself in the mirror. Despite the fact that she just woke up without any makeup, her refined profile and her perfect figure were extremely seductive. Is my charm not attractive to him at all? For the first time, Lan Qingyue doubted her own charm. Let's have breakfast. I want to eat steamed dumplings. After fetching Guan Shuqing on his bike, together with Wang Xian, they headed towards the old street. Sure, whatever the beautiful lady wants. What a glib tongue you got. If I wanted to eat your meat, would you cut yourself for me? You are not that cruel. I'm not the Tripitaka from Journey to the West. But I'm the wicked female monster. Ah. As they cracked jokes, Wang Xian and Guan Shuqing reached a steamed dumpling shop. After breakfast it was time to meet Director Li. When they reached first-grade restaurant, the door was already opened. Director Li and Manager Huang were already here. Director Wang. Upon seeing his arrival, Manager Huang went up to him immediately and greeted him with a beam on his face. Good morning, Manager Huang. Wang Xian nodded and looked at Director Li, who was standing at the side. The property deed and the deed of ownership transfer are ready. Apart from the past profits, everything in the restaurant belongs to you. We will be busy for the entire morning since we are going to the Property Management Bureau for the transfers of the property and other stuff. Director Li smiled when he saw Wang Xian. Great, let me see the contract first. Wang Xian nodded. Here, I'm sure there's nothing wrong with the contract. Director Li handed the contract to him. Wang Xian took it and studied it carefully before he casually nodded his head. Next, they took Director Li's car to the Property Management Bureau, State Administration for Industry and Commerce, some departments in the bank to expedite the transfer procedures, including business licenses and so on. After running around for the entire morning, Wang Xian transferred the balance amount to Director Li's account. Both of them shook hands and the deal was sealed. Boss, Director Li did not take anything with him when he left. Everything is operating as usual for now. I'll take you over to meet the rest of the staff. After coming back from the bank, Manager Huang, who had been following around the entire morning, spoke to Wang Xian with enthusiasm. Sure, let's get to know the restaurant. Also, all the staff positions will remain as they are now. Wang Xian nodded. It was lunchtime when they reached the restaurant. Wang Xian called for Manager Huang and Guan Shuqing to have lunch at the first-grade restaurant. Manager Huang knew Guan Shuqing too. She had worked as a greeter for more than half a month. When they met again, Manager Huang guessed she could be the lady boss in the future. Hence, he was proactive to serve Guan Shuqing. As such, Guan Shuqing felt lost when her previous manager fawned upon her in such a way. All these were because of the guy beside her. After lunch, Wang Xian toured the entire restaurant. Looking at the first-grade restaurant, he felt a sense of achievement. This was his restaurant, and he would definitely make a name for this restaurant in the entire river town, and it would be the best restaurant ever. Chapter 42 Reorganization. Chapter 42 Reorganization. I believe everyone would have heard some rumors yesterday regarding first-grade restaurant having a new boss. Let us welcome our new boss, Director Wang. Within first-grade restaurant, Manager Huang gathered all the employees after they were done with their work in the restaurant at approximately 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Hello everyone, I'm Wang Xian and will be the boss of this restaurant in the future. Wang Xian walked up and smiled faintly at the crowd. The entire restaurant had 50 employees currently. The employee count was considered to be high among restaurants. Just the number of waitresses alone had reached 30 people. Similarly, this helped to guarantee service quality. So young. A female waitress looked at Wang Xian and exclaimed when she couldn't contain her bewilderment. All the employees looked inquisitively at Wang Xian. Indeed, Wang Xian was too young to the point that he didn't look like a boss. They were all older than Wang Xian. Seeing this, Wang Xian lifted his head slightly and released a surge of dragon power towards them. The restaurant will operate as always. Since I'm taking over this place, I have to make some changes to this restaurant. The first change will be to increase all employees' base salary by 10%. Other rules will remain the same as for now. Don't think that I'm easy to fool just because I'm young. When I have to fire someone, I won't be soft. I have inquired about your jobs and salary. What I'm trying to say is that your compensation will definitely be better now than it was with Director Li. I'm more generous than Director Li. As he spoke, he revealed a faint smile. If you encounter any issues, you can look for Manager Huang or look for me directly. Everything could be discussed and I'm easy to talk to. However, if anyone makes a mistake, I wouldn't be kind with my words either. As Wang Xian spoke, the aura he emitted from his body made the atmosphere around him seem to have solidified. It was as though everything under the skies had him as the focus. The waitress, kitchen personnel, front desk personnel and other employees were all listening attentively. They could feel a sense of might that originated from the soul from the young man in front of them. Alright, you guys can go and have a good rest. Head chef, bring along another chef and manager Huang to come and see me for a while. Wang Xian looked towards them and instructed them. Phew. They felt like it was as though they had received an order and dispersed immediately. As they walked away, they were commenting softly. What the? Why does it feel like our current boss has an aura around him? He had a stronger majestic aura around him than Director Li. The new boss is indeed generous to directly increase our salary by 10%. This is equivalent to $400 to $500. What a young boss. He's probably just about 20. However, the boss has a majestic aura around him. Could it be that he is a rich second generation from a large family? The boss is so handsome. Young, handsome and rich. So cool. Director Wang. The head chef brought a chef along and walked over as they addressed him with smiles. However, they were still a little reserved. Wang Xian was listening to the comments of his employees as he looked at the two chefs. He smiled and nodded his head. This was the impact he had envisioned. As a boss, he had to be able to control his employees first and make his employees respect and fear him a little at the same time. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to manage the company effectively. Currently, he had achieved the impact he wanted. Come, I'd like to know more about the operations of our current restaurant. Wang Xian sat down with them at the waiting area by the side. Director Wang, these are our supply channels and these are some unique dishes we offered. Manager Huang took out a booklet and passed it to him. Wang Xian nodded his head. He had found out a little about these previously. What was outstanding about first-grade restaurant was that the variety of seafood it offered was large. Moreover, the chefs had great culinary skills and the restaurant had great service quality and a good environment. For example, the caviar, two-headed abalone and some precious seafood had a specialized purchaser. It was the uncle of Director Li previously who was the specialized purchaser. Now that Director Li had left, he had also resigned. Nonetheless, the purchase channel was still intact. Precious items like caviar were purchased directly from overseas and the costs were high. As for ordinary seafood, they were purchased from the seafood market. Yellow croaker fish, true tunas and other precious seafood would have to be obtained from auctions by the sea. It would also be dependent on luck. Director Wang, our contract with Golden Lobster Managing Company is about to end and will not be renewed. We have to find other channels quickly. Besides that, we have to purchase a batch of caviar soon. Also, we are running out of top-quality ingredients in the restaurant, Manager Huang said to Wang Xian. Although there weren't many customers who could afford top-quality ingredients, they were a symbol of strength and were a good publicity stunt. For example, if one restaurant has two-headed abalone, Atlantic blue marlin, yellow croaker fish, Australian lobsters, large lobsters and other kinds of top-quality seafood put up as display, and the other restaurant doesn't have such top-quality ingredients, this would be a distinct difference. One would have the impression that the first restaurant is better and the number of customers who would patronize it would be greater. Therefore, Wang Xian had to find some top-quality ingredients for now. The supply of large lobsters from our seas is too little each day. Besides that, we don't have ingredients such as caviar. Wang Xian shook his head slightly. Boss, we have to go to the seafood market early in the morning to get those ingredients. As for top-quality seafood, they aren't in ample supply in the seafood market. Disregarding the high price of large lobsters and crabs, the quantity is limited too. Sometimes we might not even be able to get it. If we use frozen ingredients, the taste would be a little worse off, the chef explained. Leave the supply of seafood to me. Wang Xian nodded his head slightly and continued, as for the rest, everything shall be the same as before. Besides that, Longshan restaurant would be opening soon. When they open for business, they will definitely organize some event. At that time, we must be able to keep up and play around with them. Boss, even if they wish to gain market share, we still have an advantage as our reputation has spread. As long as we can obtain sufficient top-quality seafood to attract traffic and maintain the quality of ordinary seafood, they would definitely not be a match for us. Manager Huang spoke confidently. Great. Let me handle the issue of top-quality ingredients. Head chef, I'll leave the issue of the quality of ordinary seafood to you. Wang Xian nodded his head. Rest assured, boss, and leave it to us. The kitchen will ensure the quality of the seafood, guaranteed the head chef. Alright, if there are any issues in the future, come and look for me. It's fine too if it's relating to your everyday life. Wang Xian smiled and patted on the head chef's shoulders. Thank you, boss. The head chef smiled. Get rid of these fish tanks for ornamental fish in the middle. I'll get bigger tanks and some ornamental fish, Wang Xian instructed as he looked at the empty fish tanks in the middle of the restaurant. The ornamental fish in them had been taken away by Director Li. It was initially used to keep the arowana that Director Li had borrowed from others. It was an easy task for Wang Xian to get these ornamental fish. At this point he was considering if he should get some expensive ornamental fish to be used as a display. Chapter 43, Looking for Top Quality Ingredients. Chapter 43, Looking for Top Quality Ingredients. I didn't expect that you would look like a boss when you are really one. After talking to Manager Huang and the main chef, Guan Shuqing beamed at the serious Wang Xian. Haha, really? Do I look like a professional? Wang Xian chuckled and asked in vain. Yes, a little. Looks like you're going to be busy in the next few days. Where are you going to find top quality ingredients? Do you want me to go with you? Guan Shuqing asked him with a smile. Not really. You have to run around to find them. Besides, the weather is hot. You will stay in the shop and keep a tab on my money. Wang Xian looked at her smilingly. Well, what's the matter with that? I can take hardship well. Guan Shuqing rolled eyes at him. I still cannot allow the belle of the University of Rivertown to run around outside and get tanned. Otherwise, I am committing a sin by doing so. I have ways to get those top quality ingredients. Don't worry. You'll get food tasting first after I got them. Wang Xian spoke with a smile. You better be careful if you're asking me to try. I'll eat so much that your restaurant might go bankrupt, Guan Shuqing said with some slyness. Haha, if you really did it, then I have nothing to say, Wang Xian said with a smile. I'll be leaving in a while. Later you'll learn the daily revenue and expenses from Manager Huang. After which, check on the inventory. I'll need you to look after my money in the future. He continued joking. Sure, go get busy. Guan Shuqing nodded to him. Okay, I'll give you your wage in advance. Let me know if you need more in the future. Wang Xian stood up and fished for his phone. He transferred $10,000 to her through WeChat. Guan Shuqing took out her phone immediately when she heard it buzz. However, Wang Xian took away her phone and received the money on her behalf. He smiled and said, If you work for me, you'll get to enjoy life. Wang Xian returned her phone to her and spoke teasingly. Guan Shuqing froze for a moment as she looked at the transaction on her WeChat. With a slight blush on her cheek she said, that would depend on my mood too. If the boss is nasty, I'll quit too. Okay, I'm leaving. Wang Xian grinned and waved to Guan Shuqing. Get going, Guan Shuqing looked at him and said. Director Wang, see you. I'll take care of everything in the restaurant. On seeing that Wang Xian was about to leave, Manager Huang immediately walked over and saw him off. Okay, call me if there's anything. Work together with Guan Shuqing too. Wang Xian nodded. Rest assured, Director Wang. Manager Huang nodded. After he left first-grade restaurant, Wang Xian rode his Harley motorcycle to the seaside while thinking of ways to fish for the seafood. The restaurant required top-quality ingredients every day. Hence he would need a large volume of seafood. There were many top-rated seafoods available in the domestic waters. Take lobster as an instance. Those who knew something about seafood would understand that the Australian lobsters were one of the average-priced lobsters. However, the price was jacked up to $200 to $250 for every catty in recent years. Within China, several kinds of lobsters were more expensive than Australian lobsters like the scalloped spiny lobsters, ornate spiny lobsters, and striped spiny lobsters. But too many locals were foodies. Hence, the number of lobsters in China's domestic waters were left with very few of them. As such, they were too overpriced. In particular, the Chinese ornate spiny lobsters, also known as the divine lobsters or the rainbow lobsters, were jacked up to $5,000 to $6,000 for every 4 to 5 catties. In addition to the lobsters, the wild giant yellow croaker fish and Chinese bahaba fish found in China were expensive as well. 3 catties of wild giant yellow croaker would cost about $8,000 to $12,000 for every catty. While the Chinese bahaba fish cost a few million for each, its fish gelatin could fetch a scary price of hundreds of thousands of dollars. These fish could be found in the nearby waters around the country, but it had become so scarce that it was hard to find one in a few years. If I can catch fish like wild giant yellow croakers and Chinese bahaba fish, it would give us some great publicity. Wang Xian pondered to himself. Very soon he came to the seaside. He parked his Harley motorcycle at the side and walked to a remote spot. He took off his clothes. With a swift movement, Wang Xian jumped into the water. Transform into dragon. Splash. In just a move, Wang Xian turned into a 2 meters long divine dragon. The divine dragon exuded strong and powerful strength as it swished its tail and dived into the ocean. I'll check out the clam girl first. She should have some transformation after the 2 days cultivation, Wang Xian thought to himself and headed to the spot where the clam girl was. The golden tail swung, surging strong currents. On seeing Wang Xian swimming over, some of the surrounding marine animals were shuddering and dared not move. Some even fled in terror. Soon, Wang Xian arrived around the remote island in the middle of the ocean, sensing the position of the clam girl. Moving his body, he swam to the clam girl. Queen Clam, Level 6. Art of Cultivation, Water Dragon Transformation. Superpower, ability to control clam race whose level is lower than own existing level, water control. No changes to her level, but she has cultivated her own superpower. She can control her own kind whose level is lower than hers and water. Wang Xian was surprised to see the clam girl's attributes. On top of that, the name of the clam girl was changed to Queen Clam. Dragon King. Sensing Wang Xian's arrival, the clam girl opened its shell and revealed the flesh inside. He was surprised to find that the flesh had gradually become humanoid. However, there were no limbs and face except for a simple embryonic form. Does that mean the clam girl will change into a human when her level gets higher? Wang Xian secretly thought to himself. He looked at the clam girl and commanded, "Clam girl, show me your water control ability." "Yes, Dragon King." After sending the message to the clam girl, he found that the water around him began to surge. The surge was extremely powerful. Soon he noticed that the sea water at the bottom of the ocean began to freeze. Boo! At this time, he saw a solidified water body appeared beside the clam girl. With her mind control, the ball of water was hurled forward. The ball of water was thrown off on the boulder at the side, leaving a dented mark on it. Not bad, the clam girl possesses a fair strength now. With her sturdy clamshell, the sharks might not necessarily be able to beat her. "Follow me to the sea farther out," Wang Xian ordered the clam girl. "Yes, Dragon King." Wang Xian nodded. He took the clam girl to the waters farther out. To his surprise, the clam girl was moving at a breakneck speed. Her water control ability allowed her to control the flow of water around her and accelerate her pace. She just cultivates on the water dragon transformation. As time goes by, she will be more powerful than now. Wang Xian looked and sped forward. A golden divine dragon, along with an odd and huge sea clam, were swimming freely in the vast ocean. Chapter 44, The Chaotic Coral Reefs Area. Chapter 44, The Chaotic Coral Reefs Area. Grouper. Wild grouper costs approximately $100 per caddy currently. Tiger grouper. Wild tiger grouper costs approximately $200 per caddy currently. While swimming in the seas, Wang Xian would spot precious fish from time to time. However, all these fish were devoured by him directly. As the quantity was too low or only one, it wouldn't be useful even if he had brought it to the restaurant. The truth was that within the seas, there was still a lot of fish that had a high value. However, the less common they were, the higher the value. High-value fish were often not available in large quantities. The Bohai Sea was one of the most shallow sea regions in the country and was only several dozens of meters deep. Currently, Wang Xian could dominate all marine animals that were within 20 meters of him using his dragon energy. The resources in nearby regions of the country are too scarce and couldn't be compared with the sea regions of Europe and the Americas. With such a large population and uncontrolled fishing, many marine animals were on the brink of extinction. The marine animals within the seas couldn't be compared with regions in other countries. There's a small school of fish right ahead. Wang Xian squinted his eyes and looked at the several hundreds of fish in front of him. Those should be black sea bream, a common fish found in the Bohai Sea. Moving his body, he dominated the school of fish using his dragon power before the school of black sea bream could react to the situation. Devour. Wang Xian opened his mouth and started devouring the hundreds of black sea bream one after another. Name Wang Xian. Race, human, able to transform into a dragon. Level 3. Dragon Energy, 323/100, 000. Superpower, Dominate the marine animals, ability to rule any marine animals that are lower than your own level. Devour any form of marine animals for extraction of dragon energy. Art of cultivation, divine dragon transformation. I still need a lot of dragon energy to reach level 4, but let's put aside the issue of leveling up and focus on finding some top quality ingredients first. Wang Xian looked at his attributes and thought to himself. He looked at the clam girl behind him before heading forward. The place right ahead is really beautiful. The seafloor of the seas was broader and more magnificent. They also had a stranger landscape than those on the land. After swimming for about an hour, other than finding several large lobsters, he didn't see any other top-quality seafood. He looked ahead and noticed colorful reefs ahead of him. The entire seafloor was decorated with different colors. Under the illumination of the faint sunlight, it looked very magical. However, the landscape was very chaotic in that area with protruding rocks from time to time. Wang Xian also noticed that there were many torn fish nets around that area. If one drove a fishing boat over to fish in this chaotic coral reefs region with lots of sharp rocks, it would be over if his net got caught on the rocks and was cut open. Wang Xian accelerated and swam over and found fishing nets on many rocks. What Wang Xian didn't know was that this area was known as the chaotic coral reefs region by experienced fishermen in the Bohai Sea. The reason why it was known as such was that there were many submerged reefs in this area. It was also considered as the restricted ground for fishing. The resources around these areas are clearly more abundant. As Wang Xian approached the area, he immediately saw a school of pomfret. There were approximately 400 to 500 of them that were swimming in the vicinity. Moving his body, he encountered schools of fish and still chose to devour them. Boom. Wang Xian charged over and dominated the school of level 0 pomfrets directly. After which, he turned them into dragon energy. It's pretty here. After devouring the school of pomfrets, Wang Xian turned his attention to the entire coral reef region in front of him. Although the landscape wasn't smooth, it was of different colors and one couldn't hide the magical feeling this place was giving off. Wang Xian wiggled his body slightly and looked to the surroundings. He noticed that there were quite a number of jellyfish around. Jellyfish were poisonous marine animals. Strong jellyfish could even poison a person to death easily. However, only uniquely horrifying jellyfish would pose a threat to Wang Xian. As for ordinary jellyfish, Wang Xian wasn't wary at all. Wang Xian swam slowly towards the inner regions of the coral reefs. That should be scalloped spiny lobster. The current price of it is about $200 per catty. Wang Xian saw a lobster that weighed over a catty passing by. With just a thought, he controlled it with his dragon power and made it swim towards him. Swoosh. However, at this moment, a horrifying living animal emerged from the seafloor and bit on that scalloped spiny lobster directly. Crack crack. That monster bit onto the head of the lobster directly. In just a short while it had killed the lobster. Wang Xian was slightly shocked and quickly turned his attention to that monster. This is? Conger eel. Wang Xian squinted his eyes. Conger eels were considered as violent animals just like an electric eel. Similarly to an electric eel, a conger eel was capable of discharging electricity. In addition, a conger eel was more horrifying than an electric eel. Conger eel was known for his tenacity and would even attack other types of fish. Wang Xian was scrutinizing this ingesting conger eel. It had a body that spanned 2.5 meters and a hideous-looking head. With just a single bite, it broke the shell of the lobster. Conger eel, level 3. Extractable dragon energy, 231. A level 3 conger eel. Wang Xian opened his mouth slightly. At level 3, his dragon power would not have a huge influence on the conger eel. He wiggled his tail slightly and opened up his claws. Jerking ahead, he attacked the conger eel directly. Swoosh. Just as Wang Xian charged over, the conger eel, which was 10 meters away, immediately lifted its head and looked at Wang Xian with a cold stare. At the same time, it was emanating a violent aura. At the same level, the divine dragon isn't afraid of any living animal. A cold look surfaced on Wang Xian while he did not reduce his attacking momentum. Growl. The conger eel opened its mouth widely and charged towards Wang Xian without hesitating. Go and die. Wang Xian extended his dragon claws and grabbed onto its head directly. SSS. However, at this moment, a blue ray of light emitted from the conger eel's head. Within the glow was a strong electric current. At that instant, Wang Xian could feel his dragon claw going numb. His entire body even started shivering. SSS. The conger eel opened its mouth widely and bit towards Wang Xian's head. Growl? Giving out a soft roar, Wang Xian opened his mouth too and charged ahead. Crack crack. He ripped the conger eel's head out with a bite and quickly devoured it. Seeking its own death. Wang Xian showed disdain at the level 3 conger eel, which was being arrogant. At this moment, only a level 5 or 6 conger eel would be able to deal with him. The coral reefs in this region are chaotic and everywhere. It's very suitable for lobsters and conger eels to survive. If there are more lobsters here, I wouldn't have to worry about getting top-quality lobsters in the restaurant. Wang Xian looked to the surroundings and instructed Clam Girl to search the surroundings. Dragon King, there's a lobster right here. Clam Girl quickly brought him the news. Moving his body, he swam over directly. He saw Clam Girl had captured a lobster that was over 1 meter long. Ornate spiny lobsters. It is the expensive ornate spiny lobsters and weighs about 2 caddies. It seems like there would be quite an amount of lobsters in this area. Looking at this colorful lobster, excitement started filling Wang Xian. Chapter 45 Crawfish Soldiers. Chapter 45 Crawfish Soldiers. The market price for this lobster can hit more than $1,000. The unit price is more expensive than the Australian lobster. Ornate spiny lobsters were of the highest value within the domestic waters, followed by the Chinese lobsters, a name of a lobster. You will control this lobster and continue with the search. Wang Xian commanded the Clam Girl and continued the search in their surroundings. The colors of the surrounding corals were very close to that of the lobsters. Hence it was not easy to spot them. If the lobsters remained still and hidden among the coral reefs, it would not be easy to spot them. After all, Wang Xian was only a tiny divine dragon. Without divine sense, he could not scan and check the surrounding situation. Should I upgrade my eyes with dragon energy so that they can have the Byakugan effect in Naruto's anime? Wang Xian pondered to himself. He could use dragon energy to upgrade and strengthen any parts of his body, including the eyes. However, it would require a lot of dragon energy to do so. After some considerations, he gave up. His current level was too low and he had too little of dragon energy. Wang Xian observed the surrounding with his sharp eyes. Some of the colorful fish were swimming around him. There is a lobster over there. It should be the painted spiny lobster. The price for this is about $300 per caddy. Not too low for it. The dragon power enveloped the area, and Wang Xian commanded that painted spiny lobster to swim over. Looking at the 20 centimeters lobster, a smile surfaced on Wang Xian's face. Perhaps the lobsters here were suitable to supply for the use of his restaurant. There is a conger eel. A cold smile surfaced when Wang Xian saw an eel roaming slowly between the corals. That was a level 2 eel which was smaller than the previous one just now. He swam over and devoured the eel, which did not put up even the slightest resistance. Carry on with the search. One by one, Wang Xian found the lobsters and caught 20 of them. All of them were controlled by the ability of the Clam Girl. It only took about half an hour to catch 20 of them from this corner of the area. This entire zone with reefs and rocks seems like a treasure land. A glimmer of excitement flashed in Wang Xian's eyes. He moved forward and saw a huge coral reef in front of him. The entire reef was protruding out from the seabed for about 5 meters, and it was covered with colorful corals. We should be able to find lobsters over there. With a swift movement, Wang Xian swam over. When he was over there, he was stunned. Filled in between the crevices of the coral reefs were at least a few dozen lobsters, including painted spiny lobster, ornate spiny lobsters, and Chinese lobsters. Among those, the biggest lobsters are ornate spiny lobsters. That must be at least 5 to 6 caddies. This is a breeding ground for lobsters. It was difficult to come across ornate spiny lobsters of such a size for decades. This was a region that had yet to be fished by anyone. As such, the number of lobsters here was beyond his expectation. Wang Xian was thrilled. With a jerk forward, he enveloped the area with his dragon energy and commanded the lobsters to follow behind. As the lobsters were moving slowly, Wang Xian had to reduce his speed too. He continued to swim forward and spotted a larger reef area ahead. Based on the experience just now, that might be a breeding ground for the lobsters. Wang Xian's eyes brightened up as he led the lobsters to the coral reef. This is... When he arrived at that reef, he was stunned by what he saw. Not many lobsters resided here. Instead, it was an ornate spiny lobster. Beside this lobster was a conger eel, and it was even larger than the one he met previously. The conger eel was about 3.5 meters long and was considered to be a giant conger eel. Its body was bulky and looked like an underwater monster. However, the eel was not the only one that shocked him. There was an ornate spiny lobster as well. The size of the lobster of at least 1.5 meters was beyond his expectation. In history, the largest lobster recorded was only 1.2 meters at 40 caddies. The ornate spiny lobster before him should weigh about 50 caddies at least. Its body seemed durable and robust, especially the pair of colorful lobster claws which looked like a sharp weapon. The colorful body seemed exceptionally noble too. However, this lobster was a little terrified as it was confronting the conger eel before it. Conger eel, level 4. Extractable dragon energy, 548. Ornate spiny lobster, level 3. Extractable dragon energy, 346. A level 4 conger eel and a level 3 lobster. Wang Xian was shocked by this terrifying conger eel. Not even any of the ordinary sharks would dare to provoke it. This level 3 ornate spiny lobster was also out of his knowledge. The ocean is really amazing, occupying a 70% surface area of Earth and with areas that were unknown to mankind. Besides that, various unbelievable species can be found in it. Just as Wang Xian exclaimed, the giant conger eel struck at the ornate spiny lobster swiftly. The giant ornate spiny lobster lifted its claws hastily and lurched forward. SST. At this time, the body of the conger eel gave off blinding blue sparks. The ornate spiny lobster retreated speedily as it was fearful of the blue sparks. The conger eel spun its heavy body around and lurched forward again. This time, the ornate spiny lobster raised its claws and clamped at the eel's body. What is the value of such a large lobster? It could be the greatest asset of the restaurant. Wang Xian stared at the ornate spiny lobster with bright eyes. On seeing the offensive conger eel, he moved his body and attacked it. Roar! Before the conger eel could launch its attack, it quickly turned around and glared coldly at Wang Xian, who struck. Wang Xian did not care. He was not afraid of a level 4 conger eel. Bang bang bang. The conger eel looked at Wang Xian with fear. Yet, its eyes were full of greed. With its body flashing with blue lights, it swept out to Wang Xian. If the voltage from a level 3 conger eel can cause numbness, the voltage from a level 4 conger eel should be much stronger. Wang Xian moved away and dodged the attack from the conger eel. He extended out his claws and scratched the body of the eel. SST. The sharp claws drew a long and bloody mark on the body. Roar! The conger eel spun its head fiercely and rapidly. It opened its mouth, which was full of teeth, and bit on Wang Xian. Wang Xian raised its claws and charged forward. Crack! At the same time, blue sparks were flickering from the mouth of the conger eel. Wang Xian was startled and ducked quickly. Shoo! Just then he saw a water ball fired right into the mouth of the conger eel. Wang Xian was slightly stunned. He knew it was the clam girl who had made her move. With a swift movement, the dragon claws grabbed the conger eel by its neck. He opened the dragon mouth and bit down. Extracted 548 dragon energy. Wang Xian revealed a smile on his face. He looked at the ornate spiny lobster again with a sudden thought. The lobster was fleeing in horror when it saw Wang Xian swallow the mighty conger eel in one gulp. Don't think of escaping, little lobster. Seeing that you're gifted by nature, I'll keep you as one of my crawfish soldiers. And note, one Byakugan is a power originating in the Japanese Naruto animation. It is characterized by their enlarged and featureless white irises. When activated, it will give a powerful range of vision, magnifying up to cellular level on its targets or viewing things at great distances. Chapter 46 Pot of Lobsters. Chapter 46 Pot of Lobsters. Within the seas, a 1.5-meter gigantic ornate spiny lobster was scampering away rapidly in the water. Its actions looked extremely comical. Still trying to escape. Wang Xian swayed his tail and caught up with this ornate spiny lobster directly and pointed his dragon claw at it. This lobster held up its large pincers in fear and looked at Wang Xian in horror with its pair of tiny eyes. He was petrified. That horrifying conger eel was its natural nemesis and was eaten by this golden-colored monster just a while ago. How could it possibly go up against this monster? Growl? Wang Xian let out a roar as he shrouded this lobster with his dragon power. The timid ornate spiny lobster shriveled immediately. If its intelligence had manifested, it would definitely beg for mercy and claim to have parents and kids to take care of. Submit to me, the Dragon King. A supreme intention was directed into his mind. The ornate spiny lobster shrank its body instinctively and placed his large pincers down as it squatted in front of Wang Xian. That's the way. Wang Xian revealed a faint smile and opened his mouth gradually. A drop of dragon blood flew out from its mouth. The essence blood was emitting a golden glow and fell on the head of the ornate spiny lobster. Don't resist it. Wang Xian directed the words into his mind. The ornate spiny lobster didn't dare to move recklessly and simply stayed there without moving as the golden-colored dragon blood entered its body. Success. Wang Xian smiled. This ornate spiny lobster had become his second subordinate. This lobster hasn't got its intelligence manifested and couldn't cultivate. I have to use dragon energy to upgrade it and manifest its intelligence for him to pick up cultivation arts. Wang Xian thought to himself. This lobster was different from the clam girl. Clam girl already had her intelligence manifested. Therefore, Wang Xian didn't have to use dragon energy to manifest her intelligence after subduing her. Manifesting intelligence would exhaust a large amount of dragon energy. Wang Xian placed his dragon claw on the head of that ornate spiny lobster. Streams of dragon energy entered its body and strengthened its intelligence and body. Crack, 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 crack. Cracking sounds came from the body of the ornate spiny lobsters. Glows of 7 colors shimmered on its body as its body grew gradually to 2 meters. It does look like a divine lobster. Wang Xian laughed as he saw the glow of the lobster. Dragon King. Just as he had exhausted about 700 points of dragon energy, Wang Xian heard a faint will reach him. Wang Xian immediately stopped the upgrade using dragon energy and looked at the ornate spiny lobster. Little lobster, is that you? Dragon King, it's me. The ornate spiny lobster moved its long antennae as a response. Ah, great. I shall impart you a cultivation art. Your claws are pretty sharp. In that case, I shall impart to you the cultivation arts of Metal Elemental Divine Dragon. With just a thought, the cultivation arts of Metal Dragon, a part of Divine Dragon Transformation, was imparted on the ornate spiny lobster. Crawfish Soldier, Level 4. Art of Cultivation, Metal Dragon Transformation. Superpower, ability to control lobster race whose level is lower than own existing level. Through the upgrades using dragon energy, ornate spiny lobster's level has increased by 1. Moreover, its body also looks much stronger. This was because I have used dragon energy to upgrade it directly. This also allows it to awaken its first superpower to control a lobster race whose level is lower than its own existing level. Wang Xian looked at the superpower of Crawfish Soldier and excitement flashed in his eyes. This surprise was within his expectation. After subduing Clam Girl, he did not use dragon energy to upgrade her abilities. She relied on herself to gather dragon energy and awaken 2 superpowers. One of them was the ability to control a clam race whose level was lower than her own existing level, and the other was water control. As for Crawfish Soldier, Wang Xian used dragon energy to upgrade its abilities directly. This awakened its first superpower directly and allowed it to control a lobster race whose level was lower than its own existing level. This was the strength of the divine dragon that could suppress all things. With the divine dragon's bloodline, animals which practice divine dragon transformation could all possess the horrifying strength of suppressing its own race whose level is lower than its own. Now that I have 2 marine races subdued, let's just give you all a name. Clam Girl shall be called Roving Girl and you shall be called Roving Lobster. Wang Xian smiled and looked at the roving lobster in front of him. He immediately instructed, go and gather all the lobsters in the vicinity and bring them over. Yes, Dragon King. Roving Lobster nodded his head before moving his body and scampering out. Although Roving Lobster looked a little comical while moving in water, its speed was 5 to 6 times faster than before. After the upgrades of dragon energy and obtaining the cultivation arts of Metal Dragon Transformation, this lobster was destined to roam the 9 skies in the future. With Roving Lobster, it would be more convenient to capture lobsters in the future. Excitement flashed in Wang Xian's eyes. This was one of the reasons why he didn't mind expending a large amount of dragon energy to upgrade a single crawfish soldier. Wang Xian waited quietly on the spot. After 40 to 50 minutes, he sensed roving lobster rushing over from a distant place. After another 10 minutes, he saw a 2 meters rainbow lobster headed towards him with 2 long antennae like a divine lobster. Behind him was a pod of densely packed large lobsters. For species of lobsters, namely ornate spiny lobsters, scalloped spiny lobsters, Chinese lobsters and painted spiny lobsters, were separated into groups in front of him. The scene was grandiose and there were at least 10,000 of them. Wang Xian looked at this huge pod of lobsters in disbelief. Dragon King. Roving lobster swam to the side of Wang Xian and stopped on the rock respectfully. Great. Ah, so many lobsters. I'm rich. Just these 10,000 lobsters alone could be sold for several tens of millions. Wang Xian's eyes lit up. Just these lobsters in front of him would bring him astronomical profits. These are just lobsters in the vicinity. There are more at places further away, Roving Lobster said. Haha, Wang Xian laughed in ecstasy. These lobsters were marine animals without intelligence. Therefore Wang Xian didn't feel a tinge of guilt for selling them for money. In the world of marine animals, large fish fed on small fish and small fish fed on shrimps. These were the primeval rules of survival. I won't be lacking supplies of lobsters for first-grade restaurant in the future. Also, I'll be able to go look for other top-quality ingredients. Wang Xian looked at the large pot of lobsters in front of him and revealed a smile. Within first-grade restaurant, he had settled the supply of top-quality lobsters. However, this wouldn't be enough. He still had to look for other top-quality ingredients in order to make first-grade restaurant become the best and most famous restaurant in Rivertown. Roving Lobster, cultivate diligently at this place. Roving Girl, follow me and continue with our search, Wang Xian said to the Roving Lobster. After which, he brought Roving Girl along and started exploring the surroundings. At this place, there were quite a number of other marine animals other than the large number of lobsters. Moreover, he wanted to see how large this region was and the approximate number of lobsters in the area. That is? After roaming around the chaotic coral reefs area for 2 hours, Wang Xian still hadn't covered the entire region. Based on his estimates, this place had a radius of at least 30 kilometers. Wang Xian finally found several precious fish after devouring and looking for top-quality ingredients for hours. They were wild giant yellow croaker fish. A total of 5 yellow croaker fish had a golden glow on the surface of their body and each one weighed 3 to 4 caddies. I'm so lucky today. Moving his body, Wang Xian swam over directly. He shrouded the 5 precious yellow croaker fish with his dragon power and suppressed them. Chapter 47 Guan Shuqing's Problem. Chapter 47, Guan Shuqing's Problem. Wild giant yellow croakers in the present were almost extinct. Any one of them with a weight of 3 caddies and above could fetch a price of $30,000 to $40,000. $10,000 per caddy would definitely be the top quality fish in the world. Wang Xian looked at the 10 wild giant yellow croakers that he dominated with a faint smile on his face. Having stayed in the ocean for more than 17 hours, the biggest benefit that he reaped was roving lobster and the lobsters. Besides that, he also acquired 10 wild giant yellow croakers. These wild giant yellow croakers were worth at least $300,000. Wang Xian did not bring all the lobsters up. Instead, he brought those wild giant yellow croakers back to shore. He got Roving Lobster to guard the entire lobsters area and commanded Roving Girl to look for top-quality ingredients during her free time. Wang Xian transferred the image of abalones, wild giant yellow croaker and Chinese bahaba fish to Roving Girl so that she could search for them. After coming out of the sea, it was 9 a.m. the next day. He touched his empty stomach as he had already missed 2 meals in a day. Wang Xian put on his clothes and headed to the place where he had parked his Harley motorcycle. How nice it would be if I had a house by the sea. In this way I wouldn't have to go through the trouble. It would be best to have a fish farm or fishing boat at sea. Next time I can better explain the source of the seafood if I put them on the fishing boat. Wang Xian was pondering to himself. He took out his phone to check the price of fishing boats. There were several messages on the phone. In addition to Guan Shuqing's messages, there were messages from Xue Jing. Xue Jing sent him a message asking if he had time to meet. Subsequently, he followed up with some warm greetings again. Wang Xian chuckled after he saw these and returned a few polite replies. He rode all the way back to first-grade restaurant and saw Guan Shuqing and manager Huang exchanging conversations as soon as he entered the restaurant. On seeing him, Guan Shuqing was displeased and grumbled, "Where did you go? You didn't reply to my messages since yesterday." Wang Xian saw some resentment flashing in her eyes. He chuckled and said, "I have been busy and I was too busy to look at my phone." "Who will believe you? You're so busy that you can't even look at your phone?" Guan Shuqing stared at him with disbelief. "It's true. I'm not lying to you." Wang Xian walked over without a word and swung the bag of wild giant yellow croakers in his hand. "To get some seafood back, I was busy throughout the night. I didn't even sleep well last night. Manager Huang, bring it to the kitchen and keep it. We're not selling these for the time being." He smiled to Guan Shuqing as he spoke to Manager Huang. "Yes, Director Wang." Manager Huang trotted over with curiosity as he took over the bag in Wang Xian's hand. "This is?" When he saw the giant yellow croakers, his eyes were wide open as he was taken aback. "Director Wang, these are giant yellow croakers." "Yes, wild giant yellow croaker. Keep them properly. They should be dying." Wang Xian nodded. "Sure, Director Wang. You're awesome. Wild giant yellow croaker is so rare that it is hard to catch even one. You have got 10 of them and each of them is at least 3 caddies. Director Wang, you're simply superb." Manager Huang spoke with surprise. Then he quickly took the fish back to the kitchen. When the main chef saw the fish, he was also shocked. The new boss was awesome. He had managed to get 10 wild giant yellow croakers in just a day, and these are all the priceless top-quality ingredients. "You got 10 wild giant yellow croakers?" asked Guan Shuqing shockingly, as she knew about the scarcity of the giant yellow croakers as well. "Yes, I got them through tremendous effort." Wang Xian nodded. "Wang Xian, you're now superb," said Guan Shuqing with her mouth agape. "Hey, it's nothing. You'll be well fed if you follow my lead." Wang Xian smirked. "You're such an outstanding man now. I'm sure many girls will take a fancy to you in the future." Suddenly, Guan Shuqing looked at him, feeling lost. "Her?" Wang Xian was slightly stunned. Subsequently, he joked and said, "That's for sure. Just that I'm not sure if there is anyone as pretty as our Guan Shuqing who will take a fancy to me." What a glib tongue. Guan Shuqing heard his words and chuckled. "Well, I'm going to check and make a comparison with the old data. I cannot take your salary for granted. I will also take a look at the office." Wang Xian came to a small office with 3 tables, among which there was one desk that belonged to him. Wang Xian picked up the old data and studied it. The daily sales figure of first-grade restaurant was about $150,000. Such turnover is considered to be high at $50 million a year. Yet, the profit margin was minimal at 12% to 13% of the revenue. Expenses include taxes, staff wages, in-store expenses, and the procurement cost. With 50 employees, the staff wages cost almost $20,000. Procurement expenses were even higher than this. Take caviar for instance, there was basically no profit in selling it. The first-grade restaurant could enjoy its reputation because of the excellent quality in the ingredients and the culinary skills of the chef. Director Li was a very enterprising person. He hired 3 award-winning gold medalist chefs. The so-called gold medalist chefs were chefs who were qualified to be the main chefs in 5-star hotels. The yearly salary of these 3 cooks was around $500,000. With the increase in cost, the reputation of the restaurant was on the rise too. 5 to 7 million profits in a year was considered high to a restaurant. An average restaurant would make more than 25% of profits. The first-grade restaurant's profit margin is still relatively low. If we can double the profits, we will have $13 to $14 million in income. Wang Xian was thinking to himself. He remained confident with first-grade restaurant. Once their top-quality ingredients were ready, they could make at least 35% profits. By that time, the yearly earnings could hit over $20 million. During the day, Wang Xian had been staying in the restaurant to study how to make money. Guan Shuqing was also looking at the various data. Ring. When Wang Xian was about to get Guan Shuqing for dinner at 6 p.m., Guan Shuqing's phone rang. Soon after, he heard the reluctant voice of Guan Shuqing. "Wang Xian, I had to make a trip home." After she hung up the phone, Guan Shuqing had a troubled face. She apologized to Wang Xian. "I might not be able to come tomorrow either. I'm sorry. I just started my work for a day." "Her? What's up? Anything wrong?" asked Wang Xian with concern. He was slightly stunned when he saw her expression. Something about my parents. I'm sorry, Guan Shuqing replied with guilt. It's okay. Get going. Wang Xian shook his head and assured her. Well, I'll come back the day after. Guan Shuqing nodded. Wang Xian nodded as he did not take it to heart. Guan Shuqing's house was situated within an old district of the Eastern River District in the river town. They used to be staying in a high-end duplex residential building in the city center, but they had to sell their house to return the debt after her father's company encountered some problems and went bankrupt. Dad, Mom? When she opened the door, Guan Shuqing saw her parents sitting on the sofa. The middle-aged man was smoking and his hair was a mess. The fact that he had turned from a billionaire to a penniless man had struck a huge blow to her father. Even her mother was impacted by this significantly. Shuqing is here. The middle-aged man put out the cigarette in his hand immediately. He stood up and said, Get yourself dolled up. We're going to have dinner. Come, Shuqing. We're something nice today. We have an important dinner, Guan Shuqing's mother said to her too. All right. Guan Shuqing nodded with bitterness on her face. Chapter 48, Is this a confession? Chapter 48, Is this a confession? The midsummer night was cooling down. Guan Shuqing walked out from a hotel. A chilling breeze blew past her body, causing her to shiver a little. Looking at the bright moon in the sky, she suddenly felt a little helpless. Brother Wu, please be careful. At this moment, her father's voice sounded from behind her. He was walking in front of a middle-aged man and was constantly trying to get on the good books of the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man nodded his head arrogantly and patted on the shoulders of his father. All right, brother, if I can help, I'll definitely help you. Thank you, Brother Wu. Thank you, Brother Wu. Please be careful. Sister Wu, you too. Guan Shuqing's father was full of smiles as he spoke passionately at them. Shuqing, see you in the morning tomorrow? Behind the middle-aged man and woman, a juvenile stared at Guan Shuqing fervently. Guan Shuqing felt uncomfortable at the gaze of the juvenile but still nodded her head slightly. The edge of the juvenile's mouth arched upwards as he said, I'll go and fetch you in the morning tomorrow. Guan Shuqing and her family saw the middle-aged man family leave. Guan Shuqing looked at her and frowned. From here on, be a little more enthusiastic around Wu Qin and don't be so cold to him. Dad. Guan Shuqing looked at her father with displeasure and answered resolutely, I don't like him. Huh. When Guan Shuqing heard her, his face sank. It's fine that you don't like him now. Feelings can be developed over time. Upon hearing her father's reply, Guan Shuqing's body stiffened up. Shuqing, Wu Qin is still a pretty good guy. Moreover, Wu family's conditions are good. Guan Shuqing's mother tried her best to convince Guan Shuqing. Mom, are you all going to sacrifice the happiness of your daughter for the company? Guan Shuqing asked in a pitiful tone. After raising you to this age, you should be thinking about your father. Could you bear to let us stay in that old house till we die? It's time for you to think about us after raising you to this age, Guan Shuqing said to her in a solemn tone. If Wu Qin doesn't reject the idea, have the wedding completed as soon as possible. What? When she heard her father, she looked at him with disbelief. Dad, I'm still studying and am just 21 years old. Are you asking me to get married now? You are going to get married eventually, so what's wrong with getting married now? Guan Shuqing stared at her. No, definitely not. I won't marry someone I don't like. Guan Shuqing shook her head incessantly and her body started leaning back. I don't like him and I will never marry him. Shuqing. Guan Shuqing's mother saw how her daughter reacted and couldn't help but feel her heart aching. She walked over quickly and said, Oh daughter, we are not asking you to get married to him right now. You guys can try to develop feelings for each other first. I. Guan Shuqing looked at her parents, gritted her teeth and exclaimed, I already have someone I like. What? When Guan Shuqing heard her words, he stared at her intensely. I have someone that I like. Guan Shuqing gritted her teeth and said resolutely. Someone you like? Great. If the guy that you are fond of has family conditions that are as good as Wu family and could help us, I won't object to it. If he doesn't, I advise you to give up on this idea as soon as possible. After raising you for 20 years, can't you just help out the family? Let me tell you this. Don't even start having second thoughts about this. My words are final. Guan Shuqing looked at her and growled angrily. Guan Shuqing's expression turned pale and tears were welling up in her eyes. Shuqing, your dad and mom are doing this for your own good. Mother Guan walked over and patted the shoulders of her own daughter. For my own good? Asking me to marry someone I don't like is for my own good. Using me as chips in exchange for benefits is for my own good. Guan Shuqing felt that her heart was in pain suddenly. Since the unfortunate event happened to her family, she felt that her parents had changed greatly. Wang Xian. She shouted helplessly in her mind. If Wang Xian's family conditions are better than Wu family, then my parents. But Wu family had assets of $400 to $500 billion. Although Wang Xian is rich, there's a clear difference between him and the Wu family, not to mention helping my family. No, I definitely wouldn't marry someone I don't like. Guan Shuqing sat in the car and her brain was cluttered. It was when she was back in her own room that she finally regained some consciousness. A determined look appeared on her face gradually as she took out her phone and tapped on WeChat. Wang Xian, are you there? She sent the message over anxiously. At 10:30 p.m., Wang Xian had just returned to his dormitory room after bathing and happened to see Guan Shuqing's message. He immediately replied. Yeah, what's the matter? Are you all right? He asked concerned. Not fine. Guan Shuqing replied. After which she asked anxiously, do you like me? What the? When Wang Xian saw this message he was completely surprised. What's her intention behind asking this question? His expression changed rapidly and didn't know how to reply. He would be lying if he said he had no feelings for a beautiful girl like Guan Shuqing. Did you have too much alcohol? However, Wang Xian didn't reply yes directly. He sensed that Guan Shuqing was acting a little weird and wasn't her normal self. There's always a reason behind an abnormal behavior. Therefore, Wang Xian cleverly did not answer her question directly. Guan Shuqing was a little disappointed at this reply and she added immediately, if you could earn $50 million within 3 years, is it okay if you marry me? Cough cough. What the fuck? Wang Xian was drinking water when he saw the reply and choked on it immediately. If he was surprised before, he was shocked now. What the fuck? What's with Guan Shuqing today? Why is she speaking so weirdly? Is this a joke? Wang Xian was making guesses in his mind and felt that the weather was a little erratic the last few days. He answered in a jokingly manner, forget about 3 years. It shouldn't be a problem for me to earn $50 million within 2 years or perhaps even within a year. At that time, will I be able to take a great beauty like you as my wife? Eee. When Guan Shuqing saw Wang Xian's reply, she finally had a faint smile on her face. Yes, you can. Haha, then you will be too simple. Wow. If the guys in school knew about it, wouldn't they die of envy? The goddess of the school would be marrying me. Wang Xian answered in a comical manner. Yeah. When Guan Shuqing saw his reply, she smiled wider. She lay on her bed and replied, my parents are asking for a guy I dislike to go out with me tomorrow. At that time, please accompany me. Sure, absolutely not a problem. Wang Xian answered directly despite feeling that the message was a little strange. Then we have agreed on this. This baby is going to sleep now. Good night, Xiao Xian. I'll call you again in the morning. Remember to wake up early. When Guan Shuqing sent that message out, her face turned red. Although Xiao Xian isn't as successful as Wu family right now, if he could earn $50 million in 2 to 3 years and I used death to force my parents would definitely not pressure me further. Moreover, they would also likely agree to us being together. After all, Xiao Xian is so capable despite his young age. Oh my god. When Wang Xian saw Guan Shuqing's last message, he could no longer hold back his emotions as he jumped upright. Although their relationship wasn't bad, they were still addressing each other using their full name. He would address her as Guan Shuqing and she would address him as Wang Xian. With Guan Shuqing's personality, she wouldn't call him Xiao Xian and address herself as baby to him. The last message made Wang Xian's heart palpitate violently. He scrolled through the conversation log between the two of them and started pondering the details. Firstly, something must have happened to Guan Shuqing on her way home. Secondly, could it be that Guan Shuqing really likes me and that this was a confession? Ho ho ho. Wang Xian was in ecstasy. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.